Hello, good afternoon, good morning, or wherever you are, and welcome to the Secret Place podcast channel. This is officially the first video of my podcast channel. I created the Secret Place podcast channel a while ago when God had placed it onto my heart for me to start a podcast where I would be teaching people, and not just teaching people, but also hearing the testimonies of his people who have been saved, who have been rescued from bondage, and all types of stuff like that. So, without further ado, welcome. Welcome. Today is going to be my first testimony video, and I am super excited, but I'm also extremely nervous because it's my testimony. It is my testimony on how God saved me, how he came in and rescued me from bondage, and just started to do a major clean sweep in my life that I was not prepared for and did not expect. The things that that has happened in my life over the course of the year and a couple of months of me being saved is absolutely insane. And you guys are gonna hear it. You're gonna hear it today. You're gonna hear it all unfiltered, like raw, uncut, like whatever y'all want to call it. Whatever the popular terms are today, yeah, y'all are gonna hear all of it. For starters, my name is Courtney. You guys can call me Court because for some reason people get my name so hard and I don't understand. It's Court and Neek. It's like a compound word. Just put the two together and you have my name. But people just get it wrong. So I would prefer that you guys call me Court. Some of you may know me from TikTok. Me and my TikTok videos, talking about the Bible, talking about revelations that God has given me, and all those things. Some of you may be family, some of you may be friends or old friends. I don't know, but either way it goes, welcome. Um, I'm going to start with prayer, but before I start, I do want to put a disclaimer out there. This is my testimony. Everything that I tell you guys is 100% the truth. There is no need for me to lie. There is no need for me to fabricate anything. This is my experience. This is what I've been through in my life. If it offends people, I apologize, but your offense is not my problem. I am just being obedient to what God has told me to do because He has imparted for me to tell my testimony for a month now, and it's going a little over a month, and it's really starting to get like knock knock. When are you going to get the testimony out? And so I'm doing it. And if it hurts you, again, I'm sorry, but that is not my problem. This is the truth. It's the truth. And if you feel the need to try to bash me, say that I'm doing something wrong, say that I'm lying or like manipulate, again, that is not my problem. You got to answer God on that, not me. What I'm telling you is the truth. And as far as I'm concerned, I am in a court of law. And the court of law that I am in right now is in the court of the heavens. So when the enemy gets upset, it ain't my problem to deal with him. It's my father's job. So yeah, without further ado, I want to start with a prayer because it's only proper to start with a prayer. So, dear Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus, I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to be able to finally speak and finally be able to close the door on chapters of my life that you have progressively healed me from, that you have walked into and decided to take full control of and just show your glory through all of it. So I appreciate you for that, Lord. I pray that this testimony reaches who it needs to reach because I know that there are a lot of women out there. I know that there are a lot of men out there. I know that there are a lot of people out there who need to hear this testimony. And I trust you with it. I know that you are going to do exceedingly and abundantly with it. I pray that whatever comes out of my mouth is what you ordained to come out of my mouth, that it is within your will that things come out and that it is within your will that they be done. Um, I pray for the people watching this. I pray that they be blessed. I pray for the people that may be offended by this. I pray that they be blessed as well. I pray that you give them grace. I pray that you give them mercy. And I pray that you just give me strength as I get through this, Father God, and touch my mind so that I can touch on every detail that you need me to touch on. In Jesus' name I pray. Thank you, Lord, and amen. 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 Okay, so hi. No, but yeah, I'm extremely like overwhelmed with joy in the season that I am in my life. It's as if God has, it's like all of the things that God had lined up for me, like all of the winnings that God had lined up for me. It's as if they're all dropping like so suddenly and like everything's just aligning so perfectly and I don't understand how, but I know that it's God because if it wasn't God, it wouldn't be so perfectly like orchestrated. Like I just can't explain it, and we're gonna get into that. But a little backstory: I grew up in Detroit, Michigan. Yes, I'm from Detroit. A lot of you may know me from Vegas. Some of you may know me from Colorado now, because apparently I've been talking to a lot of people, and I just can't even fathom how that even happened. And I've not even been here a full month. I've not even been here a full month. But yes, some of you may know me from literally all over the place, like different states and things like that. Born and raised in Detroit. I grew up in a two-parent household for the most part. I'm the oldest of, I want to say like nine siblings. Two of them passed. One is separated from the house. Like I don't, she's like a half sibling. And then I have my sister, my brother, my other sister, and my sister. Then I have two cousins who are also my brothers legally. So yeah, big household, big family, and as you can imagine, it definitely was a lot. It was a lot. I wanted to start with Lord. What are we gonna start with? Let's start with childhood. My childhood was a little for the most, like for what I can remember from my childhood, it was it was okay in the beginning. It was definitely okay in the beginning. I remember there was times where I was the only child and it was just me and my god sister. Like we grew up together in the same house. Like our parents were like our moms were best friends. And so we grew up together. I remember us living on the east side. I want to say it's the east side or semi east side. I don't really know. But the semi east side of Detroit, if you know where Finkel is and Davison, like you, not Finkel, Davison and I can't remember the other street. But if you know that area, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, we grew up in the same household. She was like my first friend because like we lived together. And I remember us getting big wheels and like we had did our first lemonade stand. Like we did a lot together and it was fun. Like I will admit that. It was nice living with my godmom. My godmom actually is the one who introduced me to Whitney Houston. And when I say when I was younger, I was a Whitney Houston fanatic. I was like, I love Whitney Houston. Okay. And that is something that me and my godmom we bond on. My mom, she was like holding it down for a very long time. She was holding it down. My dad, he was around, but he wasn't necessarily living with us. Don't remember the situation with that, but I just know that he was not living with us, and it was my mom primarily. And I remember my mom; she used to be like this Tupac fanatic. Like we lived in a room where she had posters of Tupac on her wall. Tupac, she loved Michael Jackson, like all of that. It was those times. But as far as God, I knew nothing about God. I knew nothing about God until later on, honestly. I didn't know anything about God until later on. My godmom, I don't remember her talking about God. I don't really remember my mom talking about God either, to be honest. Like, as far as I remember when I was younger, I don't remember my mom believing in God like that. Truthfully. I very vividly remember her not believing in God, not talking about God, not talking about Jesus, nothing. It was my dad actually who was the one who grew up in church, and he was the one who was talking about God. And honestly, I wasn't in the church like that until I want to say I wasn't in church like that until I was in elementary school, but like late elementary school. Like I want to say we started going to church like when I was in fifth grade ish. So yeah, there was no me going to church when I was a little girl or anything like that. If it was, I don't remember it, to be honest. I don't remember it. But yeah. Um, so I didn't necessarily grow up in the church until about fifth grade ish, and that's when we went to a family church called Lovejoy, and that was like my first church where like I was like we were going to church like all the time, and my dad he was the one who was like, well, if you live in my house, you got to go to church and stuff like that. So even still, like I was not one of those kids who was like into God like that. Like I just wasn't. Like I don't know. I don't know. I knew that there was something special or something different about me. I just did not know about God like that. And when we would go to church, it was as if like I was just sitting there. Like I remember falling asleep in church. Like it would be cold and the pastor would be preaching and I love him, Pastor Walker. I love you if you're watching this. But I was falling asleep when I was younger. I remember us doing choir and stuff like that. Yeah, so the family was in the choir. I come from a huge musical family. Like everybody sings. Everybody sings. Some people play instruments. I remember my Uncle Bo, he played the piano or the organ. When my dad, he played the piano. I remember him having a trumpet, like all the things. All the things. I remember my aunts and my mom and like all of them like that. I remember them all singing, and I remember the first time that I actually was starting to sing, and it was with my mom. And if y'all know that song by Kiara Sheard and Karen Clark Sheard, me and my mom had did that song together for the first time at Lovejoy. Yeah, so I didn't even know that I wasn't even really into singing either. Like it's so crazy. Like all this stuff didn't happen until like we started going to this church. And in my opinion, there was absolutely nothing wrong with the church. It just was old and it was boring. Like that's all I could remember, like from a child. Like it was boring. Like I didn't want to go to church and stuff like that. And I never really paid attention to what the pastor was talking about because I'm a kid and like I just want to go to sleep and this is boring. So yeah, that's like my background with church and everything. And ever since like being in church from like that fifth grade age, that's when we started going to church. That was when it was like, all right, boom, now you're growing up in the church. And then it was from then all the way up until. So yeah. Childhood, I will say the devil definitely had an out for me. And I had no idea about it. I had no idea about it because I believed in the depth. Like I believed in God. I will say that I believed in God. I believed in Jesus. Absolutely. And I believed in the devil. But the way that churches were teaching about God back in the day, they were teaching it in a fearful way. So when I thought about God, I thought about, oh, I have to do all these things so that I don't go to hell. That was like my mindset. Like, if I do this, I'm gonna go to hell. If I do this, I'm gonna go to hell. And I remember just having like all these dreams of like the rapture and me being left behind and just these scary dreams. And like the churches were like whipping that into us, like about hell. I remember them having us watch videos and movies about hell, and people were putting on plays about hell and like what's going to happen to you if you go to hell and if you don't get your life right with God. So ultimately, all of that scared me. So I was very like fearful of it all. I never really was like, oh, I love God so much. I was more so scared because I was like, oh my God, like if I don't follow God, then I'm going to hell and I don't want to go to hell. And I was never truly taught the importance of having a relationship with him, about the intimacy with God. I was never taught that. I was taught you're going to hell if you don't get it right and stuff like that. And then like you're hearing all these things as a child and you're seeing all these videos and you're watching all these movies that everybody's showing you and you're hearing the adults talk about it, but then you're seeing the adults and you're seeing how they act. You're seeing the drama, you're seeing the gossip, you see that they smoke all the time, you see that they drink all the time, you see that they're not nice, you see that they curse like sailors, like you see all these things, you see that they're sexually immoral, like you're hearing about adults sexual lives as a child. You're going over to your grandma's house and these are supposed to be saved people, but they're having dance contests for the girls. The girls are shaking their butts and the adults are giving money to the winner. So what do you think that's doing to the child psychologically? That's psychologically engraving this is how you earn money. So it's like all these things that everybody's telling us, oh, well, if you don't do this, you're going to hell. If you don't do this, you're going to hell. If you don't do this, you're going to hell. They're telling us all these things, but they're also not being great examples of what they're preaching. So that's really what got me to like not real like knowing about Jesus and knowing about God, but not really fully leaning into it because I'm seeing the examples of these people who are allegedly his people. So yeah, like it was just a hot mess. And later on, it even got worse with like pastors. Not the pastor that I was talking about prior to this, but just seeing how pastors operate and how people act in churches and how it's all like culty. Like it was just so much that I was destined to go on my own path. But yeah, the enemy, he had it out for me ever since I was a little girl. And I say this because sex sexual immorality hit me when I was like 6, 7 years old. And at that age I had got molested by the for the first time by one of my older cousins. And that was something that scared, like that was something that put shame in me, put guilt in me. And like that was the first tactic of the enemy. It was to cause me to fall into sexual immorality. It was to produce shame in me. It was to produce guilt in me. And that's why these days, a lot of us, we talk about like protecting the children and stuff like that because the children are the ones that the enemy's after. If he can influence the children while they're young, he can shape their minds for their future. So whatever he plants into their minds now is going to be the way that they think when they get older. And we've seen it because we're seeing it in our generation now. But yeah, he was out for me. Like I was molested. I don't hold anything against any person in my family. Whatever I mention in this testimony, I want everybody to take a pause and put themselves in a place where God can be the one to lead, to open their ears on this and open their eyes on this. Because whenever I mention something that happened to me, whether it be a family member or not, I want everybody to understand that what I feel towards that person now it's not any hate, it's not any disgust, it's not anything like that. Because now that I'm walking with Christ, I understand how things are. I understand that it was never them, it was always the spirit that was operating behind them or within them. And that is the spirit is the thing that I have an issue with. I don't have an issue with anybody. So just wanted to lay that out there. But yeah, the first person that I was molested by was one of my older cousins, and it happened in like the strangest way because I remember my little sister was over, one that was separated. She was a baby, like she was still young, and my parents were downstairs with her and I was upstairs. Like they had two babies, so because both of my sisters are around the same age, so they were like around the same age then. So I'm upstairs and my older cousin is upstairs with me, and I'm looking for something to watch on TV, but I'm also playing with toys. And I remember my dad used to have like those videos, and y'all know what I mean by those videos. He had those videos, and I remember my cousin found them, and he was like, "Oh, what's this?" And he like put it into the VCR, and it started playing on TV. And when I looked up, I was like, oh my God, like my little self automatically was like, I should cover my eyes. Like I should cover my eyes. And then he stopped it and he was laughing like, aha, this is funny. And it's so crazy how the enemy works because he likes to make things seem so lighthearted when he's about to get you. Oh, it's not nothing like that. Like, oh, it's just a good time. Or, every sin, it always starts with, oh, we're just having a good time. Oh, it's just like, and that's exactly how it was like when God had brought the memory back to me. And he's like, ha ha, laughing. Then all of a sudden, one thing leads to another. And he's pulling his you know what out, and he's telling me to get on my knees. And then it happens, and then after it happens, I don't say anything to my parents. I don't say anything to my parents. I don't tell them. Like, I'm a little girl, I'm scared. And like when you're in that state, like when you're young and that kind of thing happens to you, your first instinct is not to tell somebody. It's more like, I'm going to get in trouble. And that's what the enemy puts into your mind. He's like, oh, you're going to get in trouble because you did this. Even though you were manipulated into doing it, even though you were coerced into it, even though you were taken advantage of, he convinces you that you're the reason it happened. And because it happened, you're going to get in trouble if you tell anybody. So that was in my mind. And then you also get like this Stockholm thing, kind of like what I think, where you want to protect the person who did it because now you're thinking, okay, I'm gonna get in trouble, and then if I tell, he's gonna get in trouble. And then you have like parents who may not know how to handle things the best emotionally, so you're thinking of all the things like this is gonna turn into a huge thing and all this stuff. And like back then, my family, my dad's family, and my mom were always at each other. Like it was so excessive. Like every time you turn around, it was some kind of drama. And it was just like, is it better to say something or is it better just to be quiet? Because at the end of the day, you're a child and you want your family to like actually get along with each other. But then it's like, it's just like, I don't know. So yeah, that was the first time that the enemy struck. That's the first time that the enemy got me, and then that really affected me when I was younger. I just didn't realize because after that, it continued to happen. It would happen whenever we would go to my grandma's house, and whenever it was time to go to my grandma's house, I just remember every single time they would be like, "Oh, well, the kids go in the basement, and the adults will be upstairs." The adults will be upstairs doing God knows what, smoking, drinking, talking about each other, laughing, all kinds of stuff, and then the kids will be in the basement. And any black family, any person of my age, the millennials, y'all know about house. And that was the popular game in a lot of black family households. So whenever we go in the basement, yeah, you guessed it, everybody would play house. And how you play house is basically like one person's the mom, one person's the dad, somebody's the uncle, the auntie, then they have the kids and stuff like that. And then, as you know, things will take place that should not be taking place between children. And the more I was uncovering this with God, the more I realized like that's not something that just came about. That started with somebody, and an adult is the one who started it with whatever child would initiate playing house. So that was happening at my grandma's house, and it got to a point where whenever my parents would say, "Oh, we're gonna go to grandma's house," I remember just being like, "I don't want to go to grandma's house." And it's like you're not telling them what's going on, but they're also not really concerned about it either. They're just like, "Well, you're gonna go." They're not really questioning, "Well, why you don't want to go to your grandma's house? Well, why you don't want to do it? Like, well, what's going on?" Like that would be like the ideal thing for someone like a child's parents to do, but that's just not what happens. And I remember there was a time where my sister, she actually was in the basement, and they thought that she was playing house. They were about to, I guess, or something. I just remember something happening where they were about to play house, or they played house, or something like that. And she came and she actually told. And when she told the person's mom, they just kind of like, she kind of like pushed it off, like brushed it off. And then like she brushed it off, but then they got whooped for it. And it's like, okay, so that's instilling more fear because it's like, okay, well, if I say something again, I'm going to get in trouble for it. Like I'm going to get in trouble for it, and it's just like I just don't know. And yeah, like just thinking about that, it's just like it's so wild because it's like, why is that the first thing that you go to? Why aren't you talking to the children? But back in the day, they did whatever they did, and to this day, a lot of them still think that they were correct in like how they handled things. But yeah, the molestation didn't stop until I was about 16 years old, and it was happening regardless. Like boy cousins, girl cousins, it didn't matter. Um, I remember when I was young, like I had initiated for the first time, and then I immediately felt guilty, and I was like, "Oh no." Like I was in like elementary school and I was like, "Oh no. Like this is wrong." And I've since then apologized to that person because I was like, "Yeah, no, like I'm so sorry." Like and turns out they didn't even remember, and I'm just like, "Really?" Cuz like I remember a lot. But I guess that's what dissociation is, and like thank God like she forgave me, and like the whole time I was like overthinking it. I remember God just being like, just apologize and don't worry about anything else, and that's what I did. But the enemy was trying to get me to feel guilty about that and carry that guilt over into my adulthood, and that just was not non-negotiable. um so yeah, it stopped about 16 years old, and my childhood, I was not happy. Like I was not a happy kid. I was the oldest. And on top of being the oldest, I also have all these emotional traumas. I have these mental traumas, and I have nobody to talk to. Like my parents are like, "Oh yeah, you can come to us and talk to us about anything." But realistically, that's not really true. That's not really true because when you did say something, it was not the focal point was not you and what happened to you. The focal point was how it made them feel. And it was like there's no point in me even talking about this. As far as like my gift from a young age, I remember having very vivid dreams. I do remember that. I never recorded them, but I always knew. And I dealt with a lot of sleep paralysis. Like the enemy would attack me in my sleep so much. Like there were so many times where I was just like fighting, like trying to call Jesus and stuff like that. And I remember there was a time in one of our old apartments. It was after one of my baby brothers had died. He was stillborn, and they buried him. And they had like this plant, and as I'm like laying in my bedroom doors open and I can see into the living room. And when I see into the living room, I see like this like post or something just start to rise up. And I had immediately got scared and covered my hand. Like, mind you, nobody was sitting in there. It's like crazy because it's like replaying in my mind right now. But nobody else was sitting in there. So I'm seeing this thing happening, and I just cover my face with my blanket and go to sleep because I'm like I'm scared, and yeah, no, I'm not playing with no demon nothing. So yeah, my gift definitely started when I was younger, with the dreams and stuff like that. However, the enemy worked overtime to get me to a point of being self-conscious about myself, not knowing who I was, and silencing my voice because I grew up as a very quiet kid. Like I was always just quiet. And a lot of people just thought that I was shy, but realistically, I was battling a lot inside that I had never talked about to anybody and never really could talk to about with anybody. And my stress level, whenever we would go to the doctor, I remember the doctors always saying like my stress levels were high. And then my mom, she's just like brushing it off, like, "Oh, she's fine. Like, what girl is she stressed out about?" And it's just like a lot. Like a lot. And I remember there was a time where I was coming into the kitchen to get ready for school, I believe. And when I was getting ready, my stomach was hurting. And I came into this kitchen and I'm like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "Mom, my stomach hurt." And she like, "What's wrong?" And like I just fainted. And she called the ambulance, and like I had woke up, and when the ambulance came, They were basically saying like I was fine, like nothing's wrong or whatever. And then my mom, like instead of being concerned, instead of like being genuinely worried, she basically said that I was acting like I was pretending like something was wrong with me. And I'm this little girl. Like, why would I pretend that? Like something was wrong and it was a lot going on. And it was just like a lot of the time, like growing up, it was me and my sister. We were with babysitters because my dad, he was doing whatever he was doing, like working and like with his family or whatever. He was young. My mom, she was working two jobs. So it's like she's getting everything is in her name. Like it's always her name, stuff like this. My dad's dealing with whatever he like. It was just so much going on to where my parents were emotionally unavailable. They were emotionally and mentally unavailable, but they also were about themselves, which was so insane to me. Because it's like you can clothe a child, you can feed a child, but a child needs much more than just clothing and feeding and providing a house for them. And as I grew older, I remember just constantly hearing that, like, after all we did for you, like we that had to we clothe y'all, fed y'all, made sure y'all had something to eat, made sure y'all had a house over y'all head, and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, we understand that, but there were also deeper things that we needed to touch base on, which we never touched base on, and you guys never truly cared to actually be concerned about those things because you were so consumed with yourselves. I remember my mom, like, I remember always hearing like s- somebody doing having sexual, like it, I just remember always having it, hearing it. And then I remember there were times when my little sister, she would hear it and she'd go up to the door like, "Oh my god, they're doing it," and stuff like that. And it was just so excessive at times that it was just like that was the priority over like everything else. And then I'm the oldest, so I'm taking care of everybody. Like not financially, but I'm looking after everybody, all the kids. I'm looking after them, like I'm cooking for them, I'm babysitting them, like all this stuff. And it didn't, like, it got worse as I got older because then my siblings were getting older, and then like my parents, like they were in the house together, but then it was just like so much going on. Like mom had her issues going on. She was like dealing with her health, and then she also had like a problem with gambling, and it was just so much going on to where it was just like I was overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed and I was under a lot of pressure. And it didn't help that I was being bullied in school. I was always called ugly. I was always called fat. I was always made fun of because of how tall I was, because I was taller than everybody. And it didn't make it any better because at home, my mom's calling me fat. My mom's calling me ugly. Like, and it just was to a point where I was just like I had accepted like, okay, I'm ugly. Like I'm ugly and I'm fat, and like there were like as I grew older, it was so depressing because everybody was having boyfriends. Boys were liking all of my friends, but nobody was liking me. Can you like imagine how that felt as a little girl? Like never, and I understand like little girls shouldn't even be thinking about that. But when that is something that's happening around them, that is what they're thinking about. And then you get into middle school, and then when I got to middle school, I decided like enough is enough. I'm about to be the bully. So I started like bullying people, and like I was still being bullied, but I was also being a bully. And I remember I had bullied this one kid because he was fat, and I was like, everybody calling me fat. Why ain't nobody calling you fat? So I'm over here messing with him, and then it had escalated till we got in a fight, and he gave me my first shiner, first black eye, yeah, by a guy. So yeah, after that, I kind of chilled out. I still was kind of bullying because I also got beat up by this one girl in sixth grade. Yeah, I know. I was just all talking, no motion. And she surely beat me up like his sister. No, I was bullying her brother. Her brother was bullying me, and I was bullying him back. And then he got his sister to beat me up. So yeah, that happened. And yeah, like I was just on this decline, like the whole time. The whole time I'm doing all this stuff because I want attention. I'm doing all this stuff because I want people to stop messing with me, and also because I'm going through a lot inside. Like, I'm going through a lot. I'm feeling ugly, I'm feeling fat, I'm feeling like I'm not good enough. I'm feeling like I don't know who I am. Like, I was trying to figure it out. Like, I didn't start really trying to figure things out about who I was until about high school, and that's when I was having like a crazy identity crisis. Like, it was insane. And it was an identity crisis to an extent, because like it ultimately showed me what my true interest was, but I was going about it all the wrong ways. All the wrong ways. But yeah. So life for me was definitely a lot. Like, I was under so much. Like, if y'all have ever watched that movie Encanto, when the younger sister, the one with the muscles, and she's singing the song about pressure, and she's like, the end of the tick 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 tick, like she carrying all the stones and stuff. Like, that's how I felt from the age of like 9 all the way up till about like 20s, to be honest, like to my 20s. So actually, even like, yeah, beginning 30s, like like it didn't stop. um I remember there was a time where I was walking to school, elementary school, and there's these two boys who always bully me. We walking on the way home from school. They pushed me down on the grass. One of them was groping my boob. The other one was humping me. Like, it was just a lot going on. No car stops, nothing. This is in broad daylight. Too much going on. Then my parents, they're good together, then they're not. Then they're fighting, then my dad gets kicked out. He leaves, my mom's running the show. She's hollering all the time, talking about cleaning up and stuff like that. My siblings, like, it got to, like, when we got older, it was like my mom progressively was getting worse. Like, she was getting worse. Like, she was hitting us like way too much, and like she was hitting us like not just simple hit, like it was getting out of hand. Like, she was using objects and stuff like that. And my dad, he would never stand up for us. Like, he would never speak up. Like, he was supposed to be the man, and my mom was running the whole show. She was running everything. Like, she was telling him what to do. She would, like, when she kicked him out, he would leave. Like, it was just a lot. It was sincerely a lot going on. And the craziest thing about it is that it was all masked. Like, none of that was happening. Like, it was all, yeah, don't you tell nobody what's going on in my house. And as I grew older, I realized a lot of black parents tell their kids that because they don't want the reality of who they actually are to be exposed to everybody else. That's just what it is. They don't want their kids exposing the truth about them because they would rather people believe the facade that they put on instead of actually knowing them for who they truly are. So, yeah. But yeah, just dealing with that, and just not really knowing God. Like, we're still going to church. I've been molested at the church. Like, yeah, I went through a lot, and I remember after, like, during high school, I was when I was having my little identity crisis. I remember there was times where I would try to like hint to the teachers, like, "Yeah, my mama doing too much. Like, yeah, she kind of hitting on us a little too crazy." And like, I would like make these bruises on my arm so that I could get the attention of a teacher, and like, it never worked. It never worked. My siblings don't even know this, but yeah, it never worked. Like, like, I had a French teacher, and I was like always around her, and I would always tell her like, yeah, like, I just don't want to go home. Like, my mom's like being crazy because like she really was doing too much. Like, and I felt like I was always the target because I was the oldest. It didn't matter what happened. If my siblings did something, I was getting in trouble for it. If they like, even if I was getting in trouble for it, they were still getting in trouble for it. But they were getting like, to keep it frank, they were getting beat. Like, they really were. And it was not in ways that should have been. Like, when you're using broomsticks and you're grabbing canes and you're grabbing switches and you're grabbing bats and stuff like that, that's not okay. And we grow up as black children believing that that's okay, and like that's normalized, and you see so many people make jokes about it. It's not a joke. Like, that's not okay. You're never supposed to do that. And then like what the black parents do is they use the Bible scripture, spare the rod, spoil the God said, spare the rod, spoil the child. But it's all taken completely out of context. And when you really think about it, it really just re reinitiates what slave masters did to black people. Like now you're doing that to your children and you're saying that it's justified. So then that means it was justified for them to beat y'all too because of what the Bible says. So it's like hearing stuff like that come out of the Bible, then you can't really stand up for yourself because they're also using God said don't disrespect your parents and honor your parents and stuff like that. So it's like you're really just the property of these people. You're not actually a person. You're just the property of your parents, and they can do whatever they want to you because you're the child and they're the parent, and you have no right to tell them how to treat you. It's mind blowing. It's mind blowing. And as I just came out of this season, God couldn't have made it more frank that that is so wrong. That it is so wrong to steal your child's voice and try to bury their voice up under what you perceive them to be and what you want them to be because you want control. Like it's insane. But yeah, during high school, I was not getting boy attention, and I remember as a way of escape. This was when the internet had started coming out. A way to escape everything. I had gotten into role play on Facebook. And if you've ever role played on Facebook, you know that it's kind of like writing fanfic on Tumblr. But yeah, I was getting into role play and I was creating these characters. And role play is basically like you create a Facebook profile and you create a character. Say my character's face is Ariana Grande. So boom, I create a Facebook profile with a name that I created with Ariana Grande's picture, and then we make up a backstory for them, like, oh, she's this girl from Hollywood who's trying to get away from Hollywood and get to something slower, and then like a guy like you would meet all these friends with different kind of faces and stuff like that, and then you would try to be friends with people that Ariana Grande has pictures with, and it was just like a whole thing. And I did that all the way up until I was like 29 ish, to be honest. Like I was on and off with it towards like my late 20s, but like in the beginning from high school, I was role playing like all the time because that was my escape. And like when you're role playing, you're writing these stories to each other, like, oh, this person, like they get married, or like when they first meet and stuff like that. It was super cool because it was like writing a book, but you're writing a book with somebody else, and like they're filling in the pieces after you send your piece and stuff like that. It was super cool and it was super fun, but it definitely got a little smutty. So that kept that door of sexual immorality open for me. And I would do that. Like sometimes I would role play guys. It wasn't that I was into girls or anything like that. It was just like you're a character. So like you're playing these different roles, but you're writing them. And everything was smutty, and like when I say smut, I mean like sexual for people who don't know. But my Tumblr people, y'all know what I'm talking about. So yeah, that was my way of escape, and I remember just going and being on computer and like always couldn't wait to get home, finish my homework, get on the computer so I can role play. Like I was making friends on there. I finally felt like I could have like real friends and stuff like that. And it was like I was hiding behind a prettier face, so it was like people treated me differently, and I was like, okay, this is cool. This is cool. So that actually was kind of like my saving grace all through high school and stuff like that. So to where I didn't feel too much of like I was alone because I had my internet community and like we were all cool with each other and stuff like that. And it didn't matter how the other person looked behind the screen. We were just like bonding and stuff. So it was just genuinely cool. And my parents didn't like they knew about it briefly, but they didn't really know about it. And then like my sister, she knew, but other than that, that was like that was my own little space. Like that's where I would go to escape like my life that was literally I was miserable. I was miserable. I remember there was a time where I was in high school and I had went to this revival service with my cousin, and this cousin that I went with, they would always come over, her and all their siblings, and like my siblings, we would all be in the house, and like I remember just like being so annoyed with them all the time because it was so many kids, and like our mamas was like best friends, so like they would go grocery shopping for hours, and then my dad was not there, so it was just literally me and her oldest brother, and like we try to tame these kids and the kids not listening, and I was just like, it was too much. So I came off to a lot of people as mean and like standoffish, but it wasn't that I was mean and standoffish, it's just that I was going through so much. Like I was going through a lot and nobody understood, and I was trying to cry out for help, but I was crying out for help silently. So yeah, uh, I remember I had went to a revival with her, and then I had came back, and then I was like, oh my god, I got saved because they had did an altar call, and they were like, oh yeah, now you're saved. Do you believe in Jesus and stuff like that? I was like, yeah, and then like we got saved, and I was like, oh, I got saved when I came back home, and then I guess like a couple days later, this girl, she was like bullying me in high school, like in ninth grade, and then I was talking to my friends through email. And my mom had saw my emails, and when she saw my emails, she saw that I was cussing. So she was like, "Oh, so you're gonna cuss after you just said you got saved? I'm gonna show you what's gonna happen to you." And like she had took a bar of like ivory soap and put that in my mouth, and I had that in my mouth for like hours. My mouth was so raw and just like ugh. And like if you've ever had soap in your mouth, you know. Like it was just ugh. And like I was gagging. Like it was just a horrible experience. And then the next day I had got my period, and I remember it was the worst period of my life. And instead of my mom trying to comfort me, be there for me. She was like, yeah, that's what happens when you play with God. That's what happens when you play with God. You said you got saved and you was out there cussing. So now God is punishing you. So it was like, so this is what God does. But then you're looking at her and she's doing the same thing, but she swears she's saved and all this stuff. And it's like just just confusion and just like an attack from the enemy on me. But yeah, after high school, um, towards the end of high school, I remember I just wanted boy attention so bad. I wanted boy attention, and it felt like nobody liked me. So having the internet, you could do whatever. And I remember I was getting into chat rooms. My parents never knew about this. I was getting into chat rooms talking to guys. I was creating fake profiles and stuff like that. Not catfish, but I was making profiles like with the wrong age and things like that. Like I was like 17, 18, but I was saying I was like 20. So yeah, I was doing stuff like that. I was making Craigslist ads, all kinds of stuff, like just doing that. And I never met up with anybody, but I was always like talking to them. And I remember if you from that time, you remember those commercials where they had the phone sex ads. I remember there was times where my parents would leave and like my siblings would be doing whatever they were doing, and I was on the phone lines like calling in, like talking to guys and things like that, and like putting on this fake voice and just all kinds of crazy stuff. And it was so like degrading, but like at that time all I could think about was like sexual stuff and like how I wanted a boyfriend and how I wanted to be kissed and how I wanted a guy to like just love me and like me and stuff like that. Because you have to remember, I grew up being touched and molested by boys and girls. So it was like a urge that I had in me that I didn't know where it came from, but I knew that it was there. So when I went off to college, everything changed for me. Like it was like I am finally free. I am free for this. Free from this house. And I won't say that everything was like it was bad, but it wasn't always like the worst, because there's times when my parents came through, like for prom they came through for me, and I was going to throw the craziest tantrum if they had not, because after all the things that I have done for y'all and like all the things that I was taking care of the kids and stuff like that, I just felt like I deserved to have the prom send off that I wanted. And I actually got it. Like I actually got it. Like my parents came through for me and stuff like that. But all for them later to like throw it back in my face. So it really wasn't like a win. It was kind of like a semi win. Like I got what I wanted, but then just to hear about it later, like, oh, after all we did for you and we did this for the prom and we didn't have this money for it. And it was just like constant, like every time you do something, it's like it's thrown back at you, like, well, I did this for you and stuff like that. So moving on, I went to college on a scholarship and I took out a loan. And my mom had to co sign for the loan. So after college, I had to drop out of college because I didn't have enough money to cover like my student loans, and I was failing math and science. So, long story short, like with the loan thing, like I just remember my mom like constantly throwing that back in my face, like I signed off on this loan for you, and this how you like this how you do, like you had me sign off on this loan for you, and it was like you're mad at me because you did what a parent should do. You're mad at me because you did what a parent should do. And it's like she had like some kind of like, oh, you didn't finish college and stuff like this. And it's like, I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford college anymore. Realistically, like, yeah, I was failing math and science, but I realistically could not afford it because I was also staying on campus. And on top of that, it was a private college. So it's like throwing this stuff back in my face, like you're upset with me because you did what you were supposed to do as a parent. Mind blowing. But in college, I was a wild child. Let me tell you, I was free and I lived as such. Okay, so I get to college and I'm making friends and stuff like that. And I remember I had this one friend and like we were roommates for a little bit. And I had took her back home to my house and everything. And we were real cool until basketball season started because that's what I got the scholarship for. So when basketball season started, I didn't have as much time because I was practicing, I was having games, and I was going to classes and stuff like that. So I wasn't able to party with her and stuff like that anymore. So she got jealous after I went to a party one night and I brought back a bottle, like a quarter of a bottle of like this alcohol. And I had put it in my mini fridge. I'm in the student center one day and I get an email from the dean saying like you need to report to the dean's office for having unauthorized things in your room because it's a Christian college. So this girl who was smoking cigarettes, doing drugs, drinking alcohol all the time, she had like the posters and everything on her wall. She took all that stuff down. She took it all down, reported me to the dean and everything because I was not having enough time to be her friend. Like it was insane. She reported me for having that alcohol and then I got in trouble for it. Like, and she left, went ghost, like nothing. Craziest experience of my life. But I started making friends with the basketball team, and then there was just one girl who was like my best friend because we had clicked and we were like both goofy and stuff like that. And like we would just like drink and like have fun and stuff. And like I would always go to their apartment that me and her sister got close to. So we were all just like really cool. And then I remember this other girl, like one of our mutual friends, like she started coming around too. And then I just noticed that they started getting closer, and I was like, me never having anything to myself, this is so toxic. Me never having anything to myself, I just felt like my best friend was being stolen from me because it had already happened kind of in high school because we were like, had a best friend that I went to high school with. But by the time I went to that high school, because there was a little hiccup between there, I was on a wait list and, by the time I got to the high school, she'd already had a new friend. And like, they were like, cool. And I was like, okay, so my best friend replaced me. So I was just getting that again in college. And I was just like, okay. It was like the mean girl was activated. And I just was like I was cool with all of us hanging out, but I was also like salty because I'm like, they bonded more. They both have cars. They both have like this, and they both have this, and then I don't have this, and it was just like all kinds of stuff. And I remember I was starting to become a bully again in college. Like, girl, what is wrong with you? I was starting to become a bully again in college. So whenever my friend wasn't around, I was around other people, and then we were all cool because everybody liked each other, but everybody low key didn't like each other. So like everybody was talking about each other, whatever. And I was being bullied to this other girl because she liked the boy that I liked, and I was so used to the boys that I liked picking other girls over me. So I just felt the need to bully her. Like, yeah, like how you gonna take the guy that I want? Like, excuse me, that backfired. And it got me to a point one time where we were like, I was about to fight with somebody on the college campus, a Christian college campus, about a whole bunch of Caucasian people acting like a fool. Yeah, I did that, and regretfully so. But yeah, I learned from that. But I remember it got to a point with my friend that I just felt so left out that there was this time where I had went to her house during the summer, and so did the other girl. And when she came over, she had cleaned the dishes and like did all this stuff, and I thought that was cool. I was like, oh, that's cool. But I didn't really think too much of it, you know? Like I just didn't think too much of it. So the next day I stayed over, and then like she had to work a couple hours in the morning, so I slept in. And I remember when we had went back to her apartment, her older sister had got a call from her mom and whatever, and like they were talking, and her other sister had said something to me. She was like, "Yeah, my mom called me, and she said that when you were at the house, like you were just sleeping like a bum, like you didn't help do anything, like you didn't wash the dishes." And I was like, "What?" Because in my mind, I'm thinking like, "Oh, this is so cool. Like I can relax. Like I don't have to do anything. Like this is so chill." No. And I most probably was wrong for that, but at the same time, when you have my upbringing, like all you can think in that moment is like, this is a different environment, and I feel so relaxed, and I am just sleeping because I was not getting good sleep from when I would be at home. Like, I just wasn't because it was just so much going on and all the cleaning up and child, when we was kids, our name was clean up. We couldn't go outside until the house was clean. Kids would come knock on the door. We couldn't go outside because we were cleaning up. Like it was excessive. My mama pulling things out at 3 o'clock in the morning on a school night for us to clean up. It was so ridiculous. And then like beating us because we're not cleaning up the way that she wanted to be clean. And if there's a streak on the stove, we gotta redo the stove. Like it was too much, y'all. Like it was so much. It was so much. But yeah, when that happened, I was just like, whatever. Like at that point, I was turning cold towards it. I was like, whatever. Like that ain't my friend. Like whatever. And then I remember it had got to a point where we had gotten to like an argument, and it was because I had said something to somebody who put it on Twitter on a Gossip Girl site about her, and I had pulled up to her house like ready to fight her like a dummy. Like, why would you do that? Like Caucasian people, you pulling up to their house about to fight, like they won't call the police on you. But yeah, I pulled up. And the crazy thing about it is that the girl who created the account lied and said that I created it and I was doing it. I was not doing that. Like I just gave her, I planted the seed for her to post it, but I did not the account, but what was about my friend. I gave her that seed, but I never created the account. I never had access to it. I never had the idea for it because number one, I never even watched Gossip Girl. It was so boring to me. Like I never watched it. But she was like a fanatic for it. So that had got out, and then I remember that, and then like we had just stopped being friends like really after that. And then I had got became friends with this other girl who was a black girl, and like we were kind of the same. Like she was going through a lot of stuff, and so was I. And like she was the first person that I smoked weed with. And I remember I had burned my vocal cords one time, and then we had showed up so late to practice, and everybody had to run, and it was just like a lot going on, and I felt so bad, but like I also was feeling so empty and just too much. But as far as like me being a wild child in college, I definitely was going to the parties, and I definitely jumped out of a 3-story window after getting extremely drunk on Moscato with one of my roommates into the arms of a basketball player and lost my virginity that way, and it was not worth it. But then we definitely hooked up times after that, And then it was when Tinder and stuff was coming out. I had made a Tinder account and was hooking up with guys then. Like there was this one guy who played basketball at the school, and like we would hook up all the time. And I remember just being like, that's my man. That man was not my man. We was just hooking up strictly. Uh, but yeah, and we were hooking up for like a while, like even after I had dropped out of college and stuff like that. But yeah, I was just very promiscuous in college and just not a good person and just so mean. And also just hurt because I was being hurt by people in college as well. But I was also trying to find myself. Like I was trying to find who I was while also still being the person that I was, like this angry, bitter, mad person, but I was also trying to figure out what it was that I liked. And being around that girl who was my best friend from the basketball team, she kind of like our bond was so cool because she had interests that I had interest in as well. Like she loved horses and like she grew up on a farm and stuff like that. And I thought that was so cool. And I was just doing so much to like fit in, and like even in college I was getting messed with. Like there was kids like they were talking about my feet. So of course here I am now. I'm ugly, I'm fat, and my feet are ugly. Like nobody's gonna ever like me. Like that was all I was thinking. Like nobody's ever going to like me. Like this is my reality. Like I'm just this ugly fat girl and I can hook up with guys and that's all they want from me. Like they don't want a relationship. They don't want any of that. They just want that. And then it was just downhill. And when I dropped out of college, I had to return home. So I was super depressed because I was like, man, now I got to turn back. I have to go back to this place that I don't want to be at. I don't have a job. I don't have money. I don't have a car. I'm never going to see my friends again because they not going to bring me out here. And it was just so much, man. It was so much. It was so much. So when I got back home, I was trying to figure my life out, but I was still like doing the whole hookup thing. Like I was meeting guys that I was talking to on the internet. My parents didn't know about. Uh, After college, I had gotten to such a dark place that there was a time where I had worked this job and my mom didn't. We had gotten to it for some reason. I don't remember. But she had kicked me out. And when she kicked me out, I had got a hotel. And then I remember I was looking on Craigslist for like sugar daddies. And I was like, okay, sugar daddy. Okay, clock it, period. Uh, I'm about to get a sugar daddy. So I signed up and then the girl was talking to me. Whole time it was not even sugar daddies. They were doing like escorting. So for the first time in my life at about 19, 20, I had got paid for sexual services while being away from home after getting kicked out. Yeah. Like I said, it was a lot. And after I did that, I felt so dirty and just disgusted with myself. Like I didn't want to be like I just didn't. And my parents calling me and they're like, "Oh, so how you get a hotel? Mom, how you get a hotel for the night? Like how you do that?" And it was just so unsafe around her. Just like trying to like there was no compassion. Like I'm sorry you're going through this, or like we need to talk about this. It was no open door policy where it was like, Mom, I messed up and I did this thing that was wrong, and I don't know how to feel. Like I couldn't go to my mom crying about something, and then it's like when you did, it was like she made it about her because now she's getting all riled up and she's ready to fight, and now it's about her. It's not about you anymore or your feelings or how you feel. It just never was, and it was the same thing for my siblings, and um after that God had his hand on my life, man. Like he had his hand on my because I could have literally gotten kidnapped that night. And I remember doing another job where I wanted to sell these perfumes, but it was fake perfume. Whole time it was like a setup for a sex trafficking ring. Um they were having people like spray perfumes, having to smell it. It smells good for the first 2 seconds, and then they try to sell it to you for $20. Yeah, that was like a whole trick set up by the enemy to get me into sex trafficking because the enemy wanted to use me so badly sexually. He wanted me to we're gonna get into it. But yeah, the guy who was working, he was so cute, and I was like, "Oh, he is so cute," and he was giving me attention, and because he was giving me attention, I was just like, "Oh my god, like he is so cute." I was blinded, and we had went to Lansing, and I remember my mama like freaking out, like, oh my gosh, she going out there, like she out there about to with these people she don't know and stuff like that. And she called my grandma. And a high key, I do thank God for even using this to happen because it saved my life. So she called my grandma, and then my grandma called me. Like, I'm not listening to nothing my mama's saying. She doing too much. But then when my grandma called me, she was talking to me calm, and she was like explaining to me why I shouldn't be there. And we were in Lansing, and by the grace of God, one of the guys who was also new like me, he started having a nervous breakdown, and he was freaking out about where we were because they told us we were going to be in a hotel. It was a motel, and it was only two beds, and it was like, yeah, we could share the beds and stuff like that. And it was just weird. And the guy, he started freaking out, and then we had packed up and went home that night. So thankful to God that that happened, because if that had not happened, the enemy would have had me in a sex trafficking ring, and I probably would be a lot further off. So, like I said, there's moments where I can be thankful for my mom, but then there's also moments where it's like, there's more moments where it's like, what is wrong with you and why would you like do that? And then it's the same thing with my dad, because I grew up loving my dad, but the more older that I got, I guess after this recent time, I finally was able to see everything for what it was. And now I'm just kind of like, I don't understand either one, to be honest. Like, I don't understand either one. And I mean that in the most loving way, because it's like, I just don't understand like the thought process or anything. So yeah, that happened, and after that, I fell into a deep depression, and I was having anxiety attacks, and I was getting addicted to porn. I was watching porn all the time because it was making me feel good because I was touching myself. Now I remember this time I had got so anxious, and I was kept watching porn, and like I was trying to get off, but I couldn't. But at the same time, the urge was still there, and it was like so, like, I can't explain it. It was like a drug. Like, it was just like constantly, and I just kept having to go back and back and back until I actually got the release of it. And like, it was just not happening until like forever after. And then it was just, it was just such a dark, dark place. And I had these sex toys that I was gonna sell, and then this is what really like threw me. So when I was in college, I went to a pure romance party, and I thought it was cool, and like it was real nice. And then people was buying stuff, and then like the lady was talking about like if you wanted to make money yourself, you can. And I signed up, and I eventually was starting my own like little sex toy business, and I was like, this is cool. So I had the bag, and I went home. And when my mom found the bag, like she opened it, and then like she started saying like some of the most off the wall stuff to me, like, "Oh, you're out there being gay with these white girls, and you got these bags of this bag of toys, and you out here being gay and doing all this gay stuff." And I'm like, what the heck are you talking about, bro? Like, I'm just trying to make some money. Like, I am a poor college child trying to make some money, and you're over here saying this about me. So she takes the bag, and I snatched the bag back because I'm like, this is my bag. Like, what are you doing? And she's like, wow, so you gonna act crazy like that over a bag of, like the D word. So you gonna act like that over a bag of this? Huh? You gonna act like that over? She like, look at her acting crazy, just constantly like provoking me, just at me. And then she just all of a sudden she hit me, and then she just like just would not stop hitting me. And then like I'm on the ground, she like kicking me and stuff like that. She go to hit me with a pizza roller. I stop her from hitting me with that pizza roller because like, what is wrong with you? And I storm out the house because I'm like, what is wrong? Like, this is insane. Like, why are you putting your hands on me like this? Slam my laptop down so my MacBook broke it. I was so hurt. And another time I remember it's like after her dad death, it was like I was her public enemy number one, and I did not understand why. There was one time where my brothers were outside and they were playing, and I'm the oldest, have to watch everybody. So mind you, it's a lot of kids, so got to keep an eye on everybody. Everybody not in the same place. So I'm in the house, and she come back in rage or whatever, and like my brother gets hit in the face with a stick from my other brother, so his face is swollen. So my mama sees that, And then I'm just freaking. I'm already like, before she came, I was like, oh my god, like why was y'all doing that? Like y'all know she about to do the most. And when she came back, she started beating up on me, man. Like it was like, why are you doing this to me? Like she did the most, and I never understood why. After it was like after her dad died, it was like times 20,000. Like her aggression towards me, and I just didn't get it. I didn't get it because I'm like, I didn't do nothing to you, and then, like, this is not my fault. Like they were outside playing. Like how can I control that? Like it was never grace. It was no grace. It was just, I'm gonna knock you out, or I'm gonna bust you in your mouth, or I'm gonna do this and stuff like that. And then on top of that, it's just all the constant criticism from her. It was, oh, you fat, you fat, oh, you look ugly like that, don't wear your hair like that. Like I couldn't do anything that I wanted to do for myself. Your teeth, like it was always, my teeth weren't this. And like even when, even like like in my 20s and like early 30s, it's like, oh, why your gums look like that, why your teeth look like that, and it's just like constant criticism. And I didn't start even feeling like I was even pretty until I started wearing makeup. And that's when, oh, you look so pretty. Like my mama used to be, oh, you look so good with your makeup like that and lashes and all this stuff. And it was just like, it was cool when I was morphing into her. Like, I don't know. It was just too much. So after college, after all that happened, after all the promiscuity with that, like meeting guys and stuff like that, and God spared my life more than enough times because I was gonna meet this guy one time who was like this rich white man, and he was talking about how big his house was and stuff like that, and I was just like, yeah, come save me. And I was getting ready to go, and he was like, don't come. And it was like, it was so sudden. And I'm like, what? Like, we just made all these plans. It was God protecting me. It was God protecting me. So all these times, like it was just like God just protecting my whole life. Um, I want to say it was around 2012 when I had decided that I wanted to be a wrestler. I was like watching my dad watch wrestling, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do in my life. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do wrestling. Like it looked like it's cool. It don't look that bad. So I had decided, and then I remember by the time it was 2018, I had been to Vegas. And when I went to Vegas, the promiscuity didn't stop. Like when I was in Vegas, I was a wild girl on vacation. And I had had sex with like three guys. And yeah, it was crazy. And I was out there drinking, like just this person in this dark place putting on a facade like she just living her best life. Like, it's so crazy. And after that, I was like, I went to Vegas again. And then after the second time, I was like, okay, I'm moving to Vegas. I had checked around for wrestling schools. It was cheap. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm moving to Vegas in 3 months. And I, surely enough, I did. Like, I packed all my stuff up and packed it in my car, moved to Vegas, and I didn't look back. Like I didn't, like my mama, she was all sad. Like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like I'm so sad you're leaving and stuff like that. And it was like there was good times with my mom, but there was also times where it was just like ugh, like I just can't. Like this, like I can't, because it was such a push pull. Like there was time where she would give me the silent treatment and expect me to come talk to her, and I did. I did whatever it was to please her when I was younger. I did whatever it was to please her. Whatever it was to keep her from being happy. I was cutting corners to make sure to avoid anything with her, giving her money when she needed it. Like I was doing all this stuff because I did not want to hear her mouth. And that in itself is so abusive, like emotionally abusive. So after I moved to Vegas, like I felt like I was in a free world. Like I was like, oh yeah, this is it. Like Vegas. Hold on, y'all. I'm about to drink some water. But yeah, I was in Vegas. I had transferred my job over. I had my apartment. Like everything was good. I started wrestling. I was starting to meet these people. And then I had met one of the guys in wrestling. He had just moved there from Miami. And I was kind of standoffish in wrestling because it started to feel like high school again, like the guys calling me ugly and stuff like that, always making fun of me. And it was just like, here we go again. But at the same time, I'm just like ignoring it because I'm like, I don't even care at this point. Like, say what you want to say. So, um, 2018, I started to train for wrestling. I had moved to Vegas, and then I want to say 2019 ish is when I met one of the guys who was my best friends in Vegas. He had moved from Miami, and he told me he was living in like a hotel, and I was like, "Oh no, you ain't gotta live in a hotel. Like you can stay with me and just pay half the rent, and it's a living room, but like." It's huge, like it's got enough room and stuff like that. And then I'm like, I'm barely home because I be working. And he was like, oh yeah, cool. So like we had bonded and stuff like that, and I would take him home. And then like I remember just getting people giving people rides. Oh, they had a booking in California. I would take them and they would give me gas. Sometimes they wouldn't. And then it was just like the people pleaser in me was completely activated. And I love I love him, but he did not like working, and that was just not working for me. But he was the one who had introduced me to LSD because he was talking about it because he used to go to raves and stuff. And I remember him saying like, yeah, it's like super spiritual and stuff like that, and like it really helps me like get in touch with myself and like with my spirit and with God and stuff like that. And like he was meditating and stuff, and I was like, oh, okay. And at the time, he was like super vibrant to me. So I was like, okay, like, I don't know, maybe. So I started doing research on it. And then later on, I had met my ex roommate, who was also a wrestler, but she was in China at the time with her and her boyfriend for wrestling. And when they had got back, they had came back and like they had said that they were like homeless or whatever for a minute before they had got the house. And I was like, girl, why you didn't tell me? Like, I would have let y'all stay with me. That people pleaser was alive and well. Cause what I didn't even have space for them, and I'm talking about, yeah, y'all could have stayed with me. Like how? How, Sway? How was they gonna stay with you? Like not just people pleasing, just complete yes woman. Like, okay, yeah, cause I wanted people to like me. I wanted to have friends and stuff like that. So after that we had got real cool, and then there was a night where she had texted me and she was like, oh man, like I saw her in training, actually saw her in training this week, and she was like, yeah, we did LSD this weekend, we did acid, and it was so dope, like you gotta try it. And I was like, that's crazy, because he was telling me about that too, and like how cool it is and like how it connects you to your higher power and stuff like that. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, all right, well, I'll come over and try it this weekend. So that weekend we tried it, and it was cool, and it was very like trippy. Like I was listening to music, it felt like I was in a concert by myself, and I was like, yo, this kind of is tight. Like I'm not gonna hold you, this kind of tight. So we did it a few more times, like throughout time, and it was dope. But it had got to a point where the LSD started LSDing, and we were. I remember I was watching the Justin Bieber video, "Yummy," and when I was watching the video, it was like my eyes were like catapulted open, and I was able to see the exact story that Justin Bieber was trying to tell us about the industry. And I was like, yo, like y'all gotta see this. And mind you, my roommate already talking about like how she used to go down all these rabbit holes about the Illuminati and all this stuff, and how all this stuff is real. So I'm seeing it in like 4K through Justin Bieber's video, and I'm like, yo, this is crazy. And then it was from that video to another video, and then from that one to another video, and it was just like all kinds of just seeing the evil that's actually within the industries and within the world. And the artists were trying to tell us through those music videos, but subliminally because of their contracts. And I was just like completely shook, completely shook. But it had got to a point where I had looked at the wrong video, and that was it for me. I had watched the Billie Eilish Bad Guy video, and when I watched that video, I was recognizing she's telling us that she's the bad guy. And I was like, yo, this is Lucifer. Like, this is the devil. And it was like towards the end of that video where a spirit had hopped out of the TV. And when that spirit hopped out of the TV, I had the worst trip of my life. When I say I was in and out, like one minute I'm fine, the next minute I'm going through hell. Like I'm looping, going through the same thing over and over and over again. Like I'm feeling all this anxious anxiety. I'm feeling this spirit like following me and watching me. Like it was so dark, and like I after that, I had severe anxiety. Like I had got my dog to as a support animal because I couldn't sleep by myself. I couldn't sleep with the lights on. I tried praying, felt like it didn't work. I saged, like I was doing all these things and like it just was not working. And it just slowly but surely started to calm down. I didn't do LSD for a long while after that. And I took like a long break. And then when I had did it again, um I started like slowly, like very, very slowly. And then, like, around that time, I had met this guy who it was like I was going down these rabbit holes because I was like, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this and try to find God. Like, I'm gonna try to find God because I was reading all these Reddit posts about people finding God. So I was like, I want to find God in this. So I'm just it got to a point where we were watching Disney movies and stuff like that, and it was like super cool, super colorful. Like the messages were good, they were tear jerkers, all that. And it came to a point where I met this guy on Tinder, and by this time, I had went through my webcam phase of like trying to make money doing webcam. That didn't really work out, and I also felt disgusted with myself. And I was hooking up with these guys, all this going on, and I had tried escorting, like I wanted to be a escort. That didn't work out. It's like everything that I tried to do, God was actually blocking because I wanted to be a sugar baby, blocked. Wanted to be an escort, blocked. What, like everything that I was trying to do within the kingdom of darkness, God was like, it's like God was like, no, that ain't happening. Boop, that ain't happening either. Boop, that ain't happening either. Oh, you want to do webcam? Let me make sure you make the bare minimum so that you don't do this no more. But I'm gonna allow you to go through this so that you can see that it's wrong. Boom, didn't work out. It was like everything. So I was just like in this house with all these people and just feeling empty. But the whole time I'm just pretending that I am just so happy and just so fine. Like so fine. Being there for everybody, people pleasing court, just there. So I had met this guy and he was talking about the same things that we were talking about, like, oh, about finding out about the government and how they lying to everybody because whether y'all want to believe it or not, the government do be lying to us, but that's neither here or there. But yeah, we was talking about that, and then he came over and he started talking about, oh yeah, like, voodoo isn't actually evil and witchcraft ain't evil, and I've read all the Bibles, the Satanic Bible. I know people who are Luciferians and all this stuff, and like they're actually not even bad people. That man was sent to me from the devil, y'all. He was sent to me from the devil. Like, this was the last man that I had hooked up with before I decided I was going to go celibate because I was tired of giving my body away and receiving nothing in return. And then I had got to a point where I was so disgusted and I didn't like men that I wanted to do the same things that they were doing to me and other women to them. So I was talking about pegging and all kinds of stuff. It Just listen at how the enemy had my mind like warping. Like, yeah, he wanted me to do all those things. Like, it's so crazy. So this guy, he comes into my life and we're hooking up, and he's like this rock guy. And he's talking about like he divorced his wife, and he's telling me all kinds of lies. Like just straight lies from the pit of hell. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I really like you. We meet up a couple times, and then I don't have friends who have discernment. My discernment ain't even working. So everybody's just like, oh yeah, he is hot and all that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, he really is, like for real. And I didn't even expect it. But come to find out later that this man was still married. And I found out on Facebook because something just told me, like, look him up on Facebook. Really go on the deep dive on him. And I did. And when I did, I found exactly what I needed. And then I had confronted him and told him exactly what I found. Do you know this man gaslit me? Told me, like, yeah, I thought you were different. I thought you were a free thinker and things like that. And I made the horrible mistake of allowing this man to record us doing the do. Yeah, horrible mistake. But yeah, he was saying all that. Like, yeah, I thought you were different. You did this, and like, I can't believe you and stuff like that. And I was like, bruh, like, you can't even like stop the cap. Like, I know that you're married. Like, it's right here. It's right here, my guy. So after that, we didn't talk for a minute, and then he randomly texted me one day and was like, "Hey, let's party." And I was like, "The devil is a lie. Like, I'm not about to party with you." So after that, I had did another acid trip where I felt like I was getting closer to God. I was listening to gospel music this whole acid trip, and it just felt so like refreshing. And after that, I was like, yeah, I'm going celibate. and I'm not messing with acid and stuff like that no more. And I had got baptized, and I just decided like I wanted to turn my life around. I was like, I really want to like get my relationship back with God. Like I really wanted to get back to God. And right in the moment that I was about to do that, here comes another man. Yeah. This man I was in a relationship with for a few years, like 4 years ish, maybe a little over that. What? Like 3.5 years we were together. And those 3.5 years showed me more about myself than anything. Um, okay, so I feel like God is having me wait on talking too much about this part with him, but I will brief you. Like he came into my life at a time where I was looking for God. And I remember when he moved in, like I was praying to God and stuff like that. But as we started to hang out, I started to not pray as much as I was before, you know? Like, and then, like I said, I was celibate. I had broke that covenant with God. I broke that covenant with God. And then after I broke that covenant with God, it was like the enemy had free game to do whatever he wanted to do. And he did. In this relationship, without expressing so much of it, because it's giving that God wants me to wait for a divine time. So I'm going to wait on that. But in this relationship, I experienced rejection. I experienced feeling unwanted. I experienced um feeling alone. It was just a lot that was going on, and like I was compromising so much. I compromised my entire relationship, like my entire journey of going back to God. Like I compromised that for this relationship. Like I was overextending myself while also shrinking myself to make this person comfortable, to make this person basically walking on eggshells around him. And it was very similar to how it was with my mom being at home. And I didn't realize that until after the fact. But at the end of the day, this relationship taught me about all of my insecurities, the insecurities about my body, the insecurities about how I looked, the insecurities about like just not feeling like I would be good enough, and it exposed parts of me that I never thought would be exposed. Like I never thought that I was that person who would lose myself in a relationship, and I did. And I did. And this is nothing against him. I love him to death. Like that is my best friend. Like regardless of everything that we have went through, that is still my best friend till this day. Like he has my dogs right now. Like I love that man to death. And I truly, truly believe in my heart with all the faith that like that is bestowed within me that God is about to do something in his life that is about to turn him completely around so that he can actually see himself the way that God sees him. And that's ultimately what broke us was his trauma and my trauma going head to head and trying to avoid each other, but there was no way that that was going to happen, and it's no way that it was going to work without God. Like it was so much that I had went through with this man, and to be honest, I am grateful for all of it. What I was witnessing was that the more that I was trying not to be like my mom in a relationship, the more that I was becoming my mom, and vice versa. The more he was trying not to be like somebody that affected him in his life, the more he was becoming that person. So we're clashing, but we're also repeating a cycle, and that's exactly what the enemy wanted. He saw the familiarity in him, and he saw the familiarity in me, and he was like, let me manipulate this since they already done did the do. Now I have free ways to do whatever I want to do. So let me manipulate, like, let me pit them against each other without them knowing that I'm pitting them against each other. And let me give them a familiar setting. Like, it reminded me of my mom and my dad, like our relationship did, because I was doing so much and he was doing like just enough for a while. Then it was like not even the bare minimum. So I was cooking, I was cleaning. I'm thinking that this is how you get a husband: cooking, cleaning, washing, taking care of him, things like that. It got to a point where I had gotten so tired. I was like, I am exhausted of this relationship. Like, I was being so real. And it took it took us coming to Colorado for a job, and that job not working out, uh and us having to come back. And as we were doing, like, as we had went through this journey of coming to Colorado and then doing the big turnaround, it was like God was planting seeds for me to see, or planting things for me to see, but I was still not seeing it. It's like I would question it, but then I just brush it off. And then it got to a point where I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had recognized that something was not right. And I felt it in my spirit. And I was also going through so much. Like, I had lost so much weight. Like, I lost so much weight. I was stressed out. Like, we were not making enough for our bills. Like, it was so much going on. It was like, it had got to a point where we had almost gotten evicted, and I just felt so alone. Like, I felt like I was by myself with another person just there. And like every day looking at him, it's like I was recognizing the resentment building up, because like he was just like a walking zombie, and like he was just not in a good place himself. So we're trying to make this work, and there was times where there would be rage incidents, and it's like God was showing me the whole time, like, girl, open your eyes. And I was just so blinded by potential that I could not see. There was road rage incidents where both of our lives would have were put in danger, and instead of him listening to me, like, I'm trying to tell him, like, I need you to stop. Like, anytime somebody would cut him off or honk at him, or it was just like his rage was so like uncalled for. And it was like the littlest things would tick him to a point where he, like, almost to a point of where he couldn't return. And it's like his road rage had got to a point where we're both in a car and you're chasing after this person. What if this person pulls a gun and shoots us? Like, what if this happened? What if we get into a car accident? And he had just put my life in danger, like, one, two, three, many times for me, where it had got to the last time that it happened that I was just like, I cannot. Or like his tail light will be out and he's trying to avoid the police, and he's like upset because we're doing Instacart and Uber. He's trying to make money and it's getting dark early, so he doesn't have a tail light. And instead of taking care of the tail light, he's not taking care of the tail light. So he's trying to avoid taking care of that. So like he's speeding through traffic. We could have gotten into a car accident. It's just like he was so careless with my life. Like, he was careless with his own life and he was careless with mine as a result. And then it's just like he didn't listen. Like, he felt like he knew everything. And like I said, I love him to death, but these are things that I have experienced with this man. And this isn't even all of it, but it's like I said in the beginning, I don't hold the person to anything. Like, I love the person. It's the spirit that is operating behind them that is the problem. But yeah, it just got to a point where it was just too much. It was too much. And I was just like, God, I cannot do this without you. I remember saying that to God, like, this relationship is not going to work, God. Like, I can't do this. And I remember him saying, God used to tell me, like, yeah, you need to take a break. Yeah, you need to take a break. Like, yeah, you need to take a break. And I was so dependent on so many things other than God. Like, I remember I was taking mushrooms, like, to heal from my depression. I remember I attempted yoga. I did Kundalini yoga. Like, I'm just looking down all these rabbit holes, like trying to find God, new age stuff, like spirituality stuff. I'm looking at that. And then it got to a point where it's just not making sense. A lot of it wasn't making sense. I was looking into the Anunnaki, didn't make sense. Marine Kingdom. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that guy's not real. Like reading the Emerald Tablets, listening to people like Billy Carson and Dolores Cannon and all these people and watching these people who were channeling aliens. Whole time they talking to demons. They talking to demons. And I'm over here like watching it and believing it to an extent. And then I'm looking everywhere but to God. Whenever something happened between us, I would go to a psychic. Like I've been to a psychic 3 times. And one time I went to a psychic, she tried to put a curse on me because she was trying to get me into a crystal healing and she wanted to heal the relationship traumas and things like that and all the things of my past and stuff like that. I did not do it because the Holy Spirit that day was on me stronger than he had ever been in my life up to that point. He was like, I lost the $111, but I definitely did not go into that room to get any demons attached to me that she was trying to put on me. So it was just a series of just fails. Like even me trying, like I was trying everything. I was like, okay, like this could work. Like we could do this. And like after the Colorado thing, I was so depressed and like I had went on a fast for 40 days, 40 nights. I had got a job working on a ranch in that time and I loved the person that I was working for on that ranch. That lady was the sweetest person that I ever met. She gave me hope because I was like, there is still kind people out here. Like she was so sweet. She cared about like our well being, like the people that worked for her. Eventually he started working for her. And like it's like all the stuff that we were going through. It's like for him, I didn't feel safe and I was going through therapy and I was telling my therapist all this and like I was like, yeah, I felt safe with him. Like, no, I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel safe emotionally. I didn't feel safe mentally because there were times where I was going through things and he made it about him. Like and it was like it's not about you, it's about what I'm going through. And then in return, I was doing the same thing. Like I was doing the same thing. He would be going through things and I would make it about me. Like thinking that he's going through things because of me. Like we're just clashing in these areas because we're not communicating. And then I'm trying to communicate, but he's not speaking like when I'm communicating. He's not engaged. It's like he's on his phone. And like that would drive me crazy because I'm like, you're not listening to me. Like I'm telling you all these things, like things that need to change. Like it was so much, y'all. And it was just like I was boiling up to my breaking point. And I reached that breaking point and when I reached that breaking point was after that 40-day, 40 when I had did that 40-day, 40 night fast. And I remember after the Colorado trip, we had went to the post office to pick something up. And this lady comes in and she is like dressed in this purple shirt and like she got Jesus all over her shirt, Jesus on her cap. Like, and she just so late. She's like, oh man, I came in here and I came in here because my key is broke, my broke key. I, to this day, believe that that lady was an angel. I don't think that she was a real human being. I think that she was an actual angel. Because all while I was on that fast, I remember God saying, trust my timing, trust my timing, trust my timing. And I'm over here trying to figure out, like, I'm like, how is this not working? I'm like, Lord, didn't you tell me that this was going to be my husband? Like, didn't you tell me all these things? And I'm trying to put two and two together, but none of the math is mathing. So I'm talking to this lady and I tell her, I just point out, like, hey, I like your hat. Like, something just told me to say, I like your hat because it reminded me of my mom and her bedazzle hats. And then she started talking to me, like, yeah, because Jesus, he is just, like, I love Jesus so much. And he really does look out for me. He done been there for me way too many times and all this stuff. She like, you just gotta trust God timing. And when she said that, it clicked. I was like, oh my God, this lady came in here for me. She came in here for me. And we got to talking and she was like, it don't matter like what path you're on right now. You know, if you're dealing with crystals, if you're dealing with, some people they deal with the new age stuff and like all this stuff, just as long as you get back to Jesus because Jesus is the only way. The only way to Jesus. And like she just kept speaking that to me and like after that I left there and I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And this was during that fast. And then I remember after the 40-day, 40-night fast, it's just something wasn't right. Something wasn't right. Like I'm with this man and I'm depressed. And he's over at his brother's house. And everybody's happy that everything didn't work out. But I'm at home depressed because this didn't work out. Like all this stuff. And he's not seeing the things that I am seeing that's happening. So it's like everything that was leading up to us leaving, and then like it all of it was God trying to show me, trying to shake me awake, to make me realize what was happening behind the scenes. And I wasn't paying attention until during this fast, and I started to see it because he's a zombie. Like when I say this man was a zombie, like he was a zombie, like just high out of his mind. Every time I saw him, his eyes were red, dark around, and it's just like, when are you gonna be tired of this? Like, when are you gonna be tired? Cause like I'm tired. Like, how you not tired? And I just felt so stuck. So by the end of this 40-day, 40-night fast, I remember I had a dream. And in that dream, I was pregnant and I was sitting in like a hot tub or whatever. And as I'm in the hot tub, I'm talking the craziest way. So I'm like, yeah, I'm about to abort this baby because anybody got time for babies? I'm in there with this girls and I'm in there with this guy that I used to do private wrestling for. Also, yeah, wrestling opened up another door for promiscuity because it made me feel sexy. And I liked the way that guys looked at me. And like the older men and stuff like that, they liked my build. And a lot of them just wanted to be dominated. And I was with it. I was like, and I remember my coach told me, like, yeah, you should be a dominatrix. Another C from the enemy. So it's it's like, and he was always trying to get me to be in that position to be over men. That's a whole sound a whole lot like Jezebel, the Jezebel spirit. Yeah. So at the end of this, like I had this dream and like it fell out the clock fell out of the sky. And I'm looking around, I'm like, did y'all see that? And I see my old roommate. I'm like, did you see that? He like, yeah. So I wake up and I can't understand what this dream was. Like I can't understand for the life of me. I'm like, what the heck did that dream mean? So I feel the urge to take mushrooms. Like by this time, I had not taken mushrooms for about a year, or LSD, like no psychedelics, for about a year. And I was like, all right, like I really want to have like a DMT type experience. But at this point, I'm just trying to pinpoint my finger on what's not right because I'm like, something's not right. Something's not right. And I'm going to put, like, when I find out what it is that ain't right, yeah. So I took like 7 to 8 grams of mushrooms that night and it hit me really quick. And I remember when I took those mushrooms, I said, I need to figure out what it is in my bloodline because it felt like my soul was in a battle. It felt like I was being pulled from left to right. And it was like something was fighting over my soul, and it was. It was angels fighting over my soul against demons. So I took the mushrooms and I started playing classical music. I was like, this kind of a little creepy. I don't want to listen to this. I turned on some jazz and I laid back in my bed. And baby, that's when the angel came and said, what you're about to see is about to be very scary, but I'm going to be with you the whole time. I didn't know what that meant until I found out what it meant. So I'm just laying there and I'm listening to the music and I'm like, oh, this reminds me of my dad. This reminds me of my dad. Whole time as I'm saying that, I'm getting these downloads. A lot of your emotional things that's going on with you has a lot to do with your relationship with your dad, with your mom, stuff like that. I'm like, okay, okay. So the first thing that happened is I went out on the porch on my back patio. The last time I had took mushrooms, I didn't take mushrooms after this, was when I went on that patio. I remember a lot of insecurities was shouted at me. And I went to the bathroom and I looked in the mirror and I looked exactly like my mama. And I was like, nope, nope. So I went on the patio this time, except this time I was a little nervous because I was like, I don't want to hear the same thing again. So I sat on the patio and I sat on the couch and I felt the spirit with me. I felt God's spirit with me. And as I sat on that patio, on that couch, I closed my eyes and I heard the spirit say, He's going to keep he's going to get louder, but as you overcome this, he will go away. Don't react. He will go away. So as I'm sitting there with my eyes closed, I start hearing all kinds of commotion going on. I hear this growling sound just get closer and closer, and it's like in my ear. And I do exactly what the spirit tells me to do. And eventually it went away. And after it went away, I was like, oh my God, I did it. It was like I had faced my fears in that moment. I had faced everything that I was afraid of in that moment. I had took back what was stolen from me in that moment, but I didn't recognize that it was happening in the spirit. It wasn't happening like in the natural, but I was experiencing it in the natural. I had not left any area of my apartment yet. So when I went back into the apartment, I had laid back down and everything's like all over the place. It was moving. Like wall, like it was crazy. I had to lay back down, like, whoo, it's a lot going on. So I lay back down, and as I laid back down, I start to hear like feel and hear this buzzing noise. And it's getting louder and louder. And I'm like, what is this buzzing noise? I'm like, it sounds like a bee. And then I look up, open my eyes. Y'all, when I say the Spirit of God was hovering over me, it was hovering over me, brighter than the sun, so gold. It was so bright, y'all. I had to close my eyes again, but I'm also feeling every ounce of love that I have never felt in my life. Every ounce of love that I have never felt in my life. It enveloped my whole body. His entire spirit wrapped around me in love. And it was so overwhelming that I felt it and I was like, oh my God, this feels so good. I was like, oh my God, this is so good. Like, I just remember just starting to cry. And I'm like, it's like a gigantic bee just like buzzing. And it's like you can hear his spirit and you can feel his spirit. And it's just so much. And it's so overwhelming. And I just remember saying, I love you so much, God. I love you so much. Like, I love you so much. And like, it was so overwhelming to a point where I felt the shame. I felt the guilt. And I pulled that blanket over my head and I said, this is too much. It's too much. And that's when his spirit started to pull away. And then when I closed my eyes, that's when I got a glimpse of heaven. And I saw the castle of gold. It was like tall gold castles. And I'm just looking at this and I'm like, what is happening? I'm seeing all these colors. It's so bright. And then it's like everything starts to shift again. But the Spirit of God never left me. The Holy Spirit never left me. Jesus took on the physical form of what my dad would be. Like if he was truly saved. Like, not if he was truly saved, but like fully sold out and surrendered. So Jesus is walking with me and he's talking with me. And as he's walking with me and he's talking to me, I'm being shown these things. It's like a slideshow. I'm being shown these things. It's like I was Ezekiel, y'all. I'm not kidding. I can't make this up. So as I'm laying back down, I look up and my ceiling fan starts to get dark and dirty. And then I start to see the room start to get dark. And then my dad, he's sitting on the piano playing at the church. And as he's playing at the church, he has a light inside of him, but the light is fading out. It's fading out and it's starting to go dark. Darkness is starting to take over. So after I see that, I'm trying to understand what I'm seeing, and then it shifts to my mom. I'm walking into the house, her house, and I walk into her room and I'm like, girl, get up. Like, what you doing? And I go to grab her hand and I pick her up, and her face is just old, extremely old. So I get her up and we walking into the kitchen and she limping. She like, I'm just so tired. I'm just tired. And she kept saying it. I was like, I know, but like, girl, you got to get up and walk around, move around or something. So I sit her in the chair in the kitchen, and the kitchen is dark, and her face is old, and it looks like she's dying, and that's all I could feel. The spirit is God's spirit is communicating with me telepathically, so He's telling me everything that's happening, like as He's showing me it. Her face, she was dying when I sat her in that chair. It was death. And then the kitchen turned dark. And then there's two demons on her, one's on her right and one's on her left. The one that's on this side is her dad. The one on this side is her mom. They both have red eyes. The dad is smiling and the mom looks sorrowful. So I'm looking at this and I'm trying to understand what is going on. I'm like, wait, why? What? They have their hand on her. And all for it to, like, it all looked as if they had a stronghold on her. It was dark. She was praying. When I say she was praying hard. She was going ham. She was like, my father's going to take care of this. And my father is angry. And in the name of Jesus, and in the name of Jesus, hallelujah, in the name of Jesus. She was saying all this, but it was dark. There was no light, and they are on her shoulders. And I don't mean like little ones on their shoulder. I mean like they had their hand on her shoulder, standing next to her. So it's as if she's sitting in this dark place because of the state of her heart. We're sitting in the kitchen. The kitchen represents the heart because that's where everybody goes to eat. That's where everybody's soul gets fulfilled, in the kitchen. So it's like the state of her heart. She's praying to God, but there's no faith there. Her heart is dark because of all the hurt, all the pain, all the suffering, all the trauma, and things that she's went through, and all the things that she's holding on to. And it all started with her parents, which is why these two demons are standing on the side of her with their hands on her shoulder, because they have the stronghold over her. So as she's sitting there praying, rocking back and forth, looking older and older and older, God's spirit shoots down. I see the gold light and it shoots into me. It shoots into me. My hand goes up, takes the demon, slams it through the floor. I'm not kidding you. Like, slams it through the floor. I see the debris of the floor. And I hear God's voice say, Puggy, you are done. That name, Puggy, he said that. He said that. That was my grandfather's nickname. Puggy. Puggy. After that, that is when it shifted again. And after it shifted, that's when I touched my mom's face and it started to light up. She started to light up. And I was like, you saved? Nah. I was like, you free? You free? I was like, we all free now. We all free now. And I just remember God showing me the colors again. And it was like light, bursts of light. And I'm like running through like a kid. Like, I was like, oh, this is what it feels like. I was like, this is what it feels like to be around God. Like, this is so crazy, but this is so amazing. And I was just like a child in a playground that they had never been to the first time, like at an amusement park. Like, but I was in the presence of God, and I felt like a kid. I was in kid form, to be honest. I was in kid form. So after that happens, it shifts, and then all of a sudden I'm laying down and I remember the commercials kept coming on because I'm listening to jazz music on YouTube and I'm like, oh my God. I just remember like, oh my God, I'm so tired of these commercials. They're such a distraction. And when I said distraction, whoo, God showed me my then partner. It's like distraction was the key word he needed to show me exactly what was distracting my behind. So it shifts to him, and when it gets to him, he's sitting at his brother's house. And he's sitting at his brother's house and they watching the fights. And as he's sitting there, I am in his headspace and it's dark. And as he's talking, he's like, they're talking, his brother's talking, but in his mind, he's saying something else. He's saying how much he hates this. He's saying how much he doesn't want to be there. He's saying how much he hates smoking. Like, he's constantly taking hits, but he's like, oh, I'm so tired of doing this. Like, I hate this. Like, this is so stupid. Like, why did I do this? Like, why am I doing this? Like, this is so dumb. Like, I hate that I'm doing this. And it's like, you're hearing the regret from all the things that we have been through as well. So he's also saying that stuff. And it's like all of his actual voice was being suppressed by all the thoughts that the enemy was planting inside of his mind. All the fears, all the doubt, all the things about himself, like all the overthinking things, like his brain, like his mind was on a constant wheel, but the wheel was crushing his actual feelings, his actual emotions. It was suppressing who he actually was. So his brother says something. He's like, "That's so stupid. Like, why would you say that? Like, that's so stupid." And then it's like he's saying these things, but he's saying these things under the influence of like the enemy. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, Lord, I'm like, what? I'm like, what is this? Like, what's going on? And I say something and then he responds. And I'm like, whoa. I was like, you heard me? And he's like, yeah. And it was as if our spirits were communicating with each other. Like our true spirits were communicating with each other. And I'm telling him, like, oh my God, I just met God. I'm like, oh my God, that's all we have to do. Like, that's all we have to do. And I'm like telling him, like, you just got to give your life to God. I'm like, God is actually the answer for everything. And God's like here with me the whole time, just watching. Like, it's so crazy, y'all. It's so crazy. Like, I'm saying all these things, and like, he's just like, yeah, but it's so hard. And like, he's just like doubting and things like that. And it's like, the more that I was talking, the more that I was encouraging him, the more he started to believe and the more he started to come about because God had shown me him like in fetal position and he was locked. Like his soul was locked in darkness. And it was a moment where we were talking, and then like I remember we were like laying in bed. It was as if we were laying in bed, and I'm telling him like, yeah, we just gotta trust him. We just gotta trust God and allow him to do whatever he's gonna do and things like that. And like it was like just constantly encouraging him, but also like comforting him, letting him know like I'm here for you and I understand and I know that this is hard and I know that you're going through this, but we're gonna get through this because God is with us. Jesus is with us. So like I'm saying all these stuff, all these things, and like at first he's like, uh, kind of like iffy, but then he starts to come around and he starts to come around more, and the more he starts to come around, that's when God's spirit shot down, blasted into his fetal position body, and he became alive. Like he became alive. He was set free. And I was like, oh my God, you're set free. I was like, see? And then I just remember seeing him like crying, like, oh my God, I love God so much. Thank you so much, Jesus. Like, thank you so much. Like, I just remember seeing that. Seeing that display in front of me, and I'm just like, wow, like he's free, and it was just like so much light, and he looked so much younger, and he looked like a child again, like me, and like we're both children, and we're just like having a good time. We're like hugging and like all these things, and like it was just such a beautiful experience, experiencing a version of him that was saved. But this is all happening in the spirit. Like I'm not in my body, I don't think. Like I don't know what my body was doing at this time, but I wasn't in it. Like I wasn't in it, y'all. I wasn't in it. And when before that thing happened with my mom, I definitely was fighting some demons. Like it was crazy. Like it was crazy. Like I just can't explain it. Then after that, it was like it shot back to my mom. And then it started going deeper into what was going on with her. Like her trauma, all the deep, deep things that she had buried. It's like God was revealing all of it to me. And then after he revealed about her, he revealed about my dad. He revealed about my dad all the things that my dad was struggling with deep, deep down. Then after he did that, he showed me where everything began. How it started with my grandma on my dad's side, how it started there, and then it passed down to his sisters, and then it passed down to their kids. And God's just showing me how everything began and how it was going to end. He was showing me like how it started with my granddad. He was showing me witchcraft on my bloodline, how it started with my granddad. His, like, bruh, God was showing me everything. He showed me how it started with my granddad on my mom's side, and how what he did affected her, and then it affected us, and then the same thing on my dad's side, how it affected them, and then it affected them, and then it affected us. Like he was showing me everything. Like it was a point where God had like it zoomed out and everything looked like the earth, but instead of the earth, it was like every human, like their house. and their house was actually their bodies, and how dirty it was and how contaminated it was with spirits and all these things. And then it was showing me everything that my partner was going through deep down inside, the things that he was suppressing, the things that he was hiding, the secrets, all of that, the things that he had went through with his childhood, the things that was going on with his parents, like what his parents did to him, like all this stuff. God was revealing it to me in 4K. He was showing me people pretending to like me who actually didn't like me for real. Like he showed me everything. And when I say by the end of it, I was shook, child, I was shook. I want to say towards the end, it was when my mom was in the bed and like I had walked in with my then partner, and it was like beautiful lights. God had shown me a glimpse of my future. Everything that I had like wanted, those were things that God had desired for me. He put those desires in my heart. He put those there. And that's why I desired them so much, because he had put those there. So he's showing me like all these things. And like it ended when my mom, like she was in the bed. And then I came in with my partner and I'm like, hey, look. And then like, it's like so light. Like everything's light. Everything's beautiful. Everything has life. Everything is moving. Everything's colorful. It's like God had came in and cleaned house. And then I just remember like, as I'm going through this, like me and my partner, like we're going through this, and it's just filth, debris, dirt, everything just constantly gets swept up. He showed me all the sexual immorality. He showed me God showed me how he was there for me. He was there with me every single time that something happened to me. Every time he was there in the corner, just there. See, people think that God just allows things just to allow things. No, God allowed those things to happen because the enemy had authority over you because of whatever is in your bloodline. And if you don't seek God, if you don't seek Jesus to clean that up and to break you free from it, it's going to pass down. It's going to continue to pass down. And God is not going to step in until you surrender. I had surrendered that day. When I said, I can't do this anymore, God, I don't know what to do, I surrendered. And He showed me my life. He showed me what my purpose was. He showed me how He wanted to, like, have His glory shown through me. And all it took was me to surrender. All it took was for me to be obedient to Him, for that to take place, for that to happen. So after all this happened and God showed me all these things, I'm sitting, it's like when you're in the spirit, it's so crazy. It's like a virtual reality world. And like there's like these paths, like there's these roads and things like that. And when God shows you your book, we all have books in heaven. Clock that to you. We all have books in heaven. This is when I really started to learn things from God, because God's sitting on a couch and I come to sit next to him, and then my partner's sitting on the other side of him, and we're talking with God, and God has a book in his hand, and then he's like talking about our dogs and things like that, and then he like closes the book and he's like, yeah, so it's all a story. It's all a part of the story. And I was like, what story? I was like, you mean to tell me that this is a story? Like, I was like a kid. Like, y'all know those kids from Encanto when they was in the beginning, like asking Maribel about her gift? That's how I was with God. I kid you not. I was like, you mean to tell me this was a story? Like, this is all one big story. And he's like laughing, like, yeah, like, this is all a story. Like, this was a part, this is your story. And like, the book closes and it's like everything starts to like close back up. And then by the end of it all, when I came back into my body, I heard, as I came back into my body, y'all, that was the breath of life that God was giving back to me. I had died that day. I had died that day. I remember feeling like I had died that day because I'm like, this is heaven. Like I'm in heaven. Like I'm with God and I'm free and like I don't have to worry about anything and things like that. I didn't think I was gonna come back, but I did. He gave me the breath of life. And I didn't know that that's what that was until later on, like a couple weeks later. This girl had discovered, and she was singing it on TikTok, and it clicked so familiar. I was like, whoa. I was like, that's what happened to me when I came back. When I came back, my apartment was in disarray. It was a mess. It looked like I had destroyed all the property. It just was a little dirty. And like, it just looked worse because I was on mushrooms. When I tell you it was not a hallucination, I wasn't just tripping. I had met God at my lowest point. God came to me. Jesus came to me and he saved me in that moment. He showed me that I have a purpose. He showed me that I have a voice. He showed me that everything that I have learned about myself throughout all these years were all lies from the enemy, that I'm ugly, that I'm fat, that I don't have this, and like all this stuff. Like, oh, you act too white, or you're this, or you want to be white, or you don't want to be black, and stuff like that. Just hearing all those types of things, it really affects somebody because it's like, it's it was never that I wanted to be white. It was never that I hated being black. I just didn't want to be like what I was witnessing. I didn't want to be like these people. So because I decided that I wanted to be different, it's looked at as, oh, she want to be white. She don't like herself. She hates herself. No, it's just that I'm not a carbon copy of what everybody expected me to become. I became something different. I started to find myself. It's like for the longest time, so many people, including my own mother, was saying things like, I wanted to be white. I didn't like who I was. I didn't like being black. I didn't like, I wanted to act like the white people and stuff like that. And it was like, it was never that. And it was so sad to me because it's like, this is who I am, and these people can't even recognize it. And I'm so grateful to God that He showed me that vision because there is going to come a time where God actually shows the truth about my how it all started for me. Because I remember there was a point in the vision where God had shown me Kylie Jenner because Kylie was my girl back in high school. King Kylie, Tumblr Kylie, that was my homegirl. And I loved Kylie because she was different from her family. Like she didn't want to be famous. She didn't want to be a celebrity. She just wanted to be a normal person. And I loved that. And that's like how like I'm not rich or anything, but like that's how I felt. Like I didn't want to be like my family. I wanted to be different. Whole time I was trying so hard to be different, but in me trying to be different, I was discovering little parts of myself that God had already written about me. I just was finding them at the wrong seasons and like I wasn't it wasn't correlating. So yeah, after that vision, my life had changed. Like for a week I didn't understand what had happened to me until like a friend on Facebook, she had messaged me something about psychedelics or something like that. And I was like, "Well, what if it helps you get close to God or something like that?" And she was like, she sent me a video on YouTube and that video reminded me of what happened to me. And in that moment, I was like, "This is God." And God is calling me out. And I was like, I ain't wasting no more time. I'm surrendering to God. And the next morning after that vision, I remember God saying, clean it up. It's time to clean it up. It's time to get everything in order. It's time to clean it up. So as God was cleaning up, it's like he took a big broom and he was sweeping through all the dirt and debris that was within like every ounce of my life, like within my partner's life at the time. Like he was just sweeping everything up. And I remember me and him just rolling together through all the dirt, like to get to the other side. And like he was like, oh, this sucks. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but it's gonna feel so great because God is doing what he's doing and stuff like that. I was so jittery and like so excited. Like it was like I was on crack or something. Like I don't know. But yeah, like it was so but the next day the church had said something about like the message was about cleaning up. And I was like, this is God. This is God. Like God is definitely talking. So fast forward like a week after that, I came home one day and I was just like detached completely. Like I didn't want to smoke anymore. I threw all my psychedelics and stuff out. I told my partner, like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. I was like, yeah, I'm trying to get close to Jesus. And I remember there was a time where when I had said that, and he had asked, like, how do you know you're getting close to Jesus? And I was like, I don't know. You just kind of, I guess you just know. And then later, God had given me a revelation, and he told me, like, I was already showing him how I was getting close to Jesus because I was throwing everything out that was not good for me. I was throwing out drugs. I was throwing out self help books. I was throwing out all these things that meant me harm, that didn't mean me any good. Self help books, they teach you to lean on yourself, to depend on yourself, when all I needed was the Bible. After that, I ordered a Bible. I had started reading the Bible every single day. I spent time with God. I spent time in a secret place, just reading the Bible. I was cleaning up. I wasn't spending any time with my partner. Like, I was completely just like detaching from him. It was like God had broke with the yoke, and I was separating myself from him. He was going to do his thing. I was reading my Bible. I would go to work, read my Bible. There was a point where God was like leading me, and he was telling me, like, yeah, I don't want you working with him. I don't want you cooking for him. I don't want you doing anything for him. And I want you to tell him that this is what I said. So I came home and I did that. I told him, like, yeah, God, like, he doesn't even believe in God. He's over here thinking that I'm crazy, but I'm like, nah. God told me he don't want me working with you. He don't want me cooking for you. He don't want me cleaning for you. He don't want me doing nothing for you. Like, so I don't know, cuz like he didn't have a job at the time, and we'd almost gotten evicted, and this was something that also pushed me into my breakthrough, y'all, because we had almost gotten evicted, and he was doing nothing to help the situation. I had a settlement coming, but I didn't have the settlement check yet. So we're on the verge of being evicted because we're behind on rent because of what happened with the Colorado thing. So he's not trying to help it out. I'm working, he's not working. So I had already asked him, like, yeah, I need you to get a job or something because I can't be the only one working. Like, we have these bills and stuff like that. And he basically tried to like downplay it, like, well, you just got a job. And I was like, I don't care. Like, you need to get a job to help out. And like, it got us to a point where we almost got evicted. We had got the notice and everything. And I remember I told him, like, don't leave the apartment because if you leave the apartment and they try to come and evict us, they're going to take my dogs to the impound. And I don't want that happening to them. So I go to work, and then he calls me. No, he leaves the apartment. So something just tells me while I'm at work. Call him and see where he at. So I call him and I see where he at. He's at the gym with his brother. The amount of anger that I felt in that moment, it took everything in me not to snap. I said, how could you be at the gym when I specifically told you not to leave just in case? Like, yes, I put all the information and stuff in, but what if they still come? And sure enough, they did. Cause like he's like, oh, I thought everything was taken care of already. Like, not taking it seriously at all. I'm like, dude, you need to get back to that apartment. Like, you need to get back to, because if they take my dogs, I'm not gonna be happy. So he's like, all right, I'm going back. He goes back a couple, like, an hour or so later. Yeah, they're evicting us. They're putting us out. I'm like, and you're leaving? Did I not tell you to tell them that I put this in, like a motion to stay and stuff like that, because I had the money coming? Like, literally, I had talked to my lawyer and everything to get it, like, take out of my settlement to pay. Y'all, like, I was about to lose my mind because it was like I was literally on my own. Like, I had nothing. And it's like he didn't grow up in an environment where it taught him to be responsible because somebody was always doing it for him. And it's like, if y'all have sons, stop babying them. Stop coddling them. They are supposed to be men. So if you grow up coddling, if they grow up with you coddling them, taking care of everything for them, not giving them the opportunity to learn anything, they're going to grow up and be completely useless. And that's not okay because no man should have to grow up in that type of environment. Like, be so for real. And I was just so frustrated. I was so angry. I was so annoyed. And I'm just like, God, if you don't fix this, it's like, I don't. I don't have I can't do it. I can't do it. That was it. That was like my breaking point. Like that was I'm done because as a man, you should do everything that you can to protect and provide and take care of your family. And it was like I had the resources to help. He's like, "Oh, I don't do that. I don't ask for help because I'm a man." You're a man, but you're afraid to ask for help. I'm trying to get us help. All of this could have been avoided if we had gotten the help. But no, he didn't want to do that because I'm a man. I don't do that. I don't ask for help. What I look like as a man asking for help. A man. You look like a man who needs help. And I'm so tired of that thing that they put in these men's mind that they're not men enough if they don't ask for help. No, ask for help. That makes you a man. What makes you not a man is not asking for help and acting like a little boy, having like somebody has to walk you through everything. Like it is so frustrating. And honestly, mothers who do stuff like this, it really destroys their sons and it destroys the potential for their sons to actually be genuinely happy and experience a quality life with good women because women don't want to put up with that. Women don't want to deal with that. And if anybody is out there and you think that you have to deal with that in order to receive love, you do not. You do not. Take it from me. Like I had to learn my lesson the hard way. But I'm telling you now so that you don't follow down that path. If you see that this person is not doing the things that God listed a man to do, if he is not operating with God, if his priority is not loving Jesus, don't do it. Don't do it. And like I said again, this is no shade to him, none. But this is just the truth. Like women have to stop coddling these boys. Like they have to grow up to be men. And you're coddling them. You're doing everything for them. You won't give them the opportunity to do something for themselves or learn something on their own. And then it's so manipulative and controlling because it's like you don't want them to do stuff for their own self because you like doing it because you like feeling needed and it's like it's so selfish like it's so selfish like I'm sorry y'all it's so selfish and I can't so yeah that happened and after all this like all the things I had just surrendered fully read the Bible every single day spent time with God like I was in there like swimwear with God like I was not playing I told him that we needed to take a break because it was not working and all this stuff. And then we had got into a little tiff, but I kept asking God, I was like, Lord, why is he not leaving? Like, if this is not for me, like, make him leave. He was not leaving. What God did was distanced us from each other, like, completely. Like, he was doing his own thing, I was doing my own thing. And it was honestly like, a test that was like the beginning of the test because I wanted him to believe. I wanted him to have faith. I wanted him to trust God and actually get to know Jesus. But it wasn't the time for him to get to know Jesus. It wasn't the time for him to know God. It wasn't the time for him to have faith or anything like that because God was trying to pull me out of the idolatry that I had exhibited with him. Yeah, I made that man an idol. I put him before God. I compromised God for him. And God had to destroy that idol. He had to destroy that yoke. He had to pull me up out of there. And he had to really take me through that season of having to see him every day, knowing that I love this man, having to see him every day and seeing that there is no contact going on really between us. Like we're just strangers in a house at this point. So after that, like God had told me that I had to move to Detroit and I had told him that and I was like, dang, this is gonna suck because like dang. So I had told him like, yeah, God wants me to move to Detroit. So I don't know what you're gonna do. Like I'm not re-signing the lease and stuff like that. So like I could tell that that hurt him and that he was sad because honestly I was sad too. Like I was sad because I was like, dang, like I don't want to leave him behind because I know that God is so good. But also when I first met God, like I was one of those newbies, like, oh my God, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And it was becoming like it was causing friction because it was like I don't want to hear about Jesus and like you're being annoying and stuff like that. And it was just like, but Jesus is the way. But I didn't realize I was coming off pushy. But that also was a part of my growth. Like God went through that whole season with him, the last few months of that at least, for a reason, because it was shaping me, it was building me, it was keeping me with God, and it was also teaching me where I had idol, where I was doing too much. It was teaching me a lot about myself, like how I wanted to, like we all have like this thing where we want to control something, and like God was showing me that. Like he was just showing me a whole lot of stuff, and like I'm just so grateful to God for it, because if I had not gone through that, I would not be where I am today. Because now I feel emotionally mature. Now I feel like I can handle being with somebody. I mean, not being with somebody, but like being around people who don't believe, and being able to influence those people to believe versus them influencing me to be a part of whatever darkness that they're in. And it's just beautiful. But yeah, after all that, I moved to Detroit. I didn't know what was gonna go on. I was looking for apartments. I had told my parents, I was like, yeah, God's telling me to move back to Detroit, so I might have to stay with y'all. And then my dad was like, are you, they were like, oh, are you leaving the dogs? I was like, no. I said his name. I'm gonna have to edit that out. 219. But yeah, they asked like, "Am I keeping the dogs with him?" And I was like, "No, I'm not gonna keep the dogs with him. Like, are you crazy? Like, they're my dogs." So yeah, I told him that I was leaving, and then I left that day. And then when I left that day, I could feel like that he was really hurt, and I was like feeling sad. Like I was feeling bad for him, because like at first I was sad, but then it's like I was getting so close to God, and I was feeding my spirit so much that I was becoming stronger and stronger and stronger, and I was like, dang, like this is crazy. So when it became the last day for us to move, um he had like got ice cream and stuff like that, and it was like really sweet, and it was just like things that I remember about him from the beginning, like I was starting to see like through his pain, and I was just like, I miss that part of you. Like I miss that version of you, like when you were sweet and like you go get my favorite ice cream when I had period cramps and stuff like that. But yeah, so I was seeing that, and then like when we left, it was hard because like he had hugged me and then he gave me a kiss, and then he was saying bye to the dogs, and he just like broke down crying, and like I was just like, oh, this sucks. Like I love you so much. But I knew that it was best for us to be separated and go on our own paths, because I trusted God and I trusted what God showed me. And yeah. So yeah, I went to Detroit, and when I got to Detroit, I was like, Lord, what's gonna go on? He's like, don't worry, I got everything. Everything's gonna be taken care of for you, so you don't have to worry about anything. So I was like, okay, trusting you, Lord, trusting you. Sorry, I was checking the time, but trusting you, Lord. So I get to my parents' house, and I walk in, I'm like, hey, because I haven't seen my family in a long time. So I was happy to see them. And plus, I'm on this journey with God, so I'm filled with a different kind of love. Like, I don't have all this anger I had towards them. I don't have all this hatred. Like, not hatred, but like, I just didn't feel any animosity because I was so filled with the Holy Spirit that I couldn't. Like I had already forgiven them. Like I was praying for them every single night. I was praying for myself. I was asking God to take whatever is not like him out of me and replace it with all of him, and just all these things. So when I got back, like I didn't feel like any kind of like anything. Like I just felt love, and I just knew that God had an assignment for me to do. And I knew what that assignment was. However, I did not know that it was going to be the way that it all played out. I remember on the way to Detroit, like him telling me about churches, and he was telling me about the church that my family was at, and he was telling me like how he's going to have me speak. There's going to come a time where he has me speak, and when I speak, it's going to be what he tells me to speak. And I was like, oh, okay, Lord. Like he'd already prepared me. He prepared the way, before it all happened. So I get to Detroit, and then it's like everybody's happy, but then my mom, she's like sitting at the table, and then she's just kind of like, like kind of like fake smile, but then it like changes, and then I automatically felt it in my spirit, and I was just sad about it because I had walked out and I started crying because I was like, Lord, like I don't know if I can stay here because it doesn't seem like she actually want me to stay here. And then God was like, don't worry, I told you, I got you. So Mom is like, she's like, well, what you gonna do with them dogs and stuff like that? I was like, well, my dogs gotta stay here. Like, I'm like, I already told y'all this on the phone, like when we talked, like last month. And she was like, okay, well, the dogs can go upstairs and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, cool. And like, she gave me air mattresses and everything was fine. And then like, I remember I would talk to her a lot because God just wanted me to talk to her. So I was talking to her a lot, and I was talking to her about my journey with God and like how I came to God and stuff like that. And like she was listening, but like she wasn't listening because like it's like she was listening, waiting for herself to be inserted. But I really tried to ignore all that for a very long time, high key. Like I really did, but it just became to a point where I guess I couldn't ignore it, and I was just like, okay, I guess this is what it is. But yeah, so I was talking to her every day. I was telling her things about the Bible that I had learned, and also I had made videos on TikTok. And she was telling me like, "Oh my God, I watched your TikToks, and I love your TikToks because they help me understand the Bible." And she would always talk to me about the church and like what they did and how they hurt her and how they keep disrespecting her family and stuff like that. And my brothers, sister, like my brothers, I mean my siblings and my dad were still at the church. And as far as I was concerned, I didn't come in on any type of I just didn't have anything against them. Like I was just like, yeah, like they did stuff or whatever, but like that what is it going to what good is it going to do me holding on to any grudge against them? So, I as far as I was concerned, like it didn't bother me, but it bothered her a lot because she talked about it a lot. And it got to a point where I was tired of hearing about it and hearing about them, and like she was playing her VR set a lot. And there would be times where like she would do stuff and then it would be so offensive, and then like she would apologize and be like, "Y'all, I'm so sorry," and stuff like that. So I'm thinking in my mind, like, "Oh, she really changing because she's never apologized and stuff like that." Yeah, mm, y'all, it's gonna get crazy. So I'm thinking like, "Oh, she really apologized," and then my siblings are telling me like, "Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but it seemed like whatever you doing is like actually helping her because like I ain't never seen her apologize or do that and stuff like that." And then it would just be moments where like she'd be talking about stuff and I'd be like, "Yeah, but you gotta forgive and you gotta let go because that's the only way you're gonna be set free. As long as you're holding on to things, it's like God's not gonna do nothing for you because you're holding on to it. You basically telling God like you got it and you don't need him and stuff like that." And she would like we would just talk a lot about it, but it was mostly like me listening to whatever she was talking about, and then like whenever I would say something, it would just turn back to whatever she was talking about and stuff. So yeah, I remember as I'm sitting there, like as I'm there, I'm asking God, like, Lord, if you want me to go to this church, I'll go, because I didn't want to go back. Like I said, I didn't have nothing against them, but I knew that that wasn't the church for me. I knew that for a fact. But I told God, like, yeah, if you want me to go back, I'll go back. But if not, like, I need a church or something, or I'll stick to my YouTube churches because I loved watching people like Stephanie E.K. Okafor, Pastor Mike Jr., Jerry Flowers, just like a assortment of like pastors, and they was feeding my spirit. So I was good as far as I was concerned. God had showed me in a dream going back to the church, and then I had asked him about it, and then he was like, "Yeah, I want you to go back." So I was like, "Okay." And he basically sent me there, and just when I first went back, he was like, "Observe," and then like when I looked around, I was looking at everything. I was looking at the walls, I was looking at the people, I was looking at the speakers, the pastors, like people in the pulpit and things like that. And I just remember God telling me like, "This is a dead church," and I was like, "Whoa." Like that's crazy. And I will always sit in the front because I like to sit in the front. I don't do the back stuff because I love God and I ain't scared to hear his word. So I sit in the front. And yeah, after that, like I had got back with the worship team with my family and we were singing, and then I just remember doing worship and it was so dead. And I was like, and I would come home and I complain about like, how do people sit during worship? Like, I just don't understand it. I'm like, how can you not be so grateful to God that you are up on your feet, dancing, shout, like, not shouting, but like dancing, like singing, like how? It was just like they would sit there and like nothing. But as soon as they heard like their bishop start singing, that's when they would sing. And it was just very like legalistic and very cultish, if I'm being honest. And my mom was talking about this a lot. And I was listening to what she was saying, but there whenever we would have conversations about this, I would always ask her like cuz she had a lot of animosity towards them. So I'd be like, "What did you do? Like what happened? Like what started all?" And she would always say like, "I didn't do anything. Like I didn't do nothing. I just showed them love and things like that." And I was like, oh, "Okay." But in the back of my mind, something always was like, "No." Because there's always a reason behind something. And it's not to say that she necessarily was starting things, but it wasn't just all one sided where it's like they did stuff in this. And then she was telling me about the bishop and how he acted and like how he was so prideful and arrogant, how he carried himself whenever like he was around people he didn't like and like his facial expressions and stuff like that. And as she's telling me these things, I'm like listening, but I'm also like, you do the same thing. So as she's constantly talking about these things, I'm tired of hearing about it. But for good reason, God has me hearing about it. So I'm listening to her and then I'm like letting her go. And the more she's talking about it, I'm like, it's like she's not liking people who exhibit the same things that she does. And it was like blowing my mind because I'm like, sounds like you. This sounds like you too. This sounds like you too, but you don't like them because they do this. And it was just a lot. And it was just like, I'm like, dude, something. Like from the beginning, I was like, I don't know. But then I also was like, this is my mom. So it's like, I'm not really about to. Like I said, I was in a completely different state of mind from when I left to when I came back. So it was like, this is my mom. Like, I'm not about to, think nothing bad and stuff like that. Completely just like forgiving everything in her, like she's done in the past and looking at her through a lens of forgiveness and grace and mercy. So yeah, it was constant, like all the time, just talking about the church, or talking about people who hurt her and things like that. Um, I continued to go to church, and then like when I showed back up, everybody was like, "Oh my." The bishop and his wife and everybody, oh, we're so proud of your journey and we're so proud that you gave your life to God. Because I remember when I was in Vegas, God had led me to apologize to them because I had said something about them going off on my sister in the church like a couple years or a year or so prior to that, and how they treated my family. And I was like, that ain't cool. And he had like blocked me on Facebook and stuff. But God had led me to apologize to him for that. So I did. And when I went back, they was like, oh, we're so proud of you. Like, God is going to do great things through you. And God, you are tied to a whole lot of people's deliverance. But he telling me this stuff, but I already know because I'm so confident in who God called me to be. And I knew exactly what God wanted me to do because he showed me it. So he telling me all these things. And it was kind of like buttering up, like trying to butter me up and like get me to like, I don't know. It was just too. It's kind of like narcissistic, like bombing and stuff like that. Like he definitely was a spiritual He definitely is a spiritual narcissist, and I pray that God delivers him from that spirit because you can't even recognize the spirit when you're in it. So, yeah, I was at church and I was telling my mom like about my journey and things that I had been through and how I was looking into all these things, like trying to find God, and like how I was looking into those things, and it was also making me prideful because I was really trying to touch on the topic of being prideful because that's what God was having me touch on, because I was acknowledging like, yeah, this is my testimony. Like I was prideful, like looking into Anunnaki, looking into all these new age things, like listening to Dolores Cannon and Christ consciousness and all this stuff, and telling people like, yeah, y'all don't know, like y'all all are sheep. Y'all don't know what y'all talking. Y'all following whatever the government tell y'all. Y'all don't think for yourselves and stuff like that because it made me prideful. And I'm telling her all these things, and she taking it in, and I'm like, yeah, because a lot of us we have pride and we just don't know it. And she like, I don't have no pride. I don't have no pride and stuff like that. And it's like, yes, you do. And it's like the more that I was there, the more it was just like, and then like I can't even explain it. But God had Like I was staying with my parents, and then he had hooked me up with a job, and then like that was cool. And then like around like April, I remember that was when I was asked to speak at the church, just like God told me, like I was gonna speak. And when I was asked to speak at the church, it was so crazy. Like God set this up so perfectly, y'all. So perfectly. So everything was good with the family and everything up until around about this point. Not this point, but like after. So I had went to the church by accident. My brother was telling me like, yeah, we got rehearsal, and I'm like, why y'all trying to have a rehearsal today? This is the Sabbath, and y'all supposed to have rehearsal this day, but y'all didn't even have rehearsal. So I get up and I go to the church for the rehearsal. Turns out we don't actually have rehearsal. It's for the kids' rehearsal. So I'm talking about that like, are you serious? Y'all done ruined my Sabbath day? Like I'm over here playing around. But I was like, I guess I'll stay because I brought my sister, and I was like, I'll just chill, like whatever. I ain't got nothing to do anyways, and before this happened, God had gave me a dream, and in the dream they were singing a specific song. And to this day, I can't remember what it was. Oh, that song where it's like they hung him high and stretched him wide. For me, he died. That's love. Like that one. So I'm sitting in the church and they start rehearsing this song, and I was like, "Dang, that's crazy! God just gave me a dream about this song." And I'm like, I wonder what that means because that's not a coincidence. And then the pastor, he's sitting there, I mean, the bishop, he's sitting there, he on the drums or whatever, and like he talking to me, like I'm here for a reason, but I don't know why. And he was like, he started nodding his head, like, yeah, yeah, like basically. And then like a few minutes, like moments later, not moments, but a while later, he come from the back with his assistant pastor. Mind you, God had already told me what was cracking with the assistant pastor. Like when I was in Vegas, he had already put me hip. Like, yeah. And when I came back, it was proven because when I say that lady's eyes was always glued on me, always. She didn't even speak, barely, barely. But yeah, it's like as if she knew that I knew who she was, and yeah. But they came back, and then I'm sitting at the organ, and he was like, "Yeah, so I want to ask you, I want you to speak. We doing this thing called members got something to say." And he was like, "I want you to speak, and I want you to say whatever God wants you to say." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So suddenly, I was like, "Oh, okay then." So I was like, "Lord, what? Right now? Seriously?" Did not know that the day I was supposed to speak was Palm Sunday, y'all. Did not know. So I go home and I'm like, Lord, I don't tell my mama because my mama already like, yeah, they're gonna try to make you minister and training and stuff like that. And I was like, listen, if God didn't tell me to do it, then I'm not doing it. If God didn't call me to do that, then I'm not doing it because I already knew that God didn't call me to do that. But she kept saying it like, yeah, they're gonna try to do this and they're gonna keep trying to like, oh, you're doing so good. And she was right. They definitely was being fake and being like, oh, we're so proud of your journey and so proud of how close you became with God and how you really surrender. And you can tell that you have the love for God and the heart for God, and we can just see it all over you and stuff like that. Mind you, they telling me all these things. So when I get home, I ask God, I spend time with God, and I say, Lord, what do you want me to speak? And then I remember opening the Bible to the potter's house, the scripture about the potter's house in Jeremiah. And when I read that, I started writing, and then it just started to come out. And I was like, oh, this is good. Like, not trying to be molded. Like, don't try to mold yourself because God is the potter. Like, I was like, that's T. I was like, period, God. So the next week, they call a fast at the church. And I fast when the Holy Spirit tell me to fast. And I didn't really consider this church like my home church, to be honest. I literally was only there because God told me to be there. So I'm still observing and everything. And God is telling me to stay on my toes because He's telling me to pay close attention. Because there was a part of me that was like, I don't know, maybe they really are like doing this, like maybe they are really for real, for real. But the moment I started thinking that is the moment where God was like, I told you, keep your eyes peeled. Because He started to reveal to me things while I was sitting there on Sundays, showing me, no, there will be like there will be shadows in the church. like moving around. Like there would be like a lot of just like performative things, like the shouting and the passing out and the praise dancing and just like all the speaking in tongues and like all this stuff. And God is showing me as I'm in there, He's like, don't fall for these things. Don't fall for these things. This is far from me. So I'm just still just sitting there and I'm like, okay, Lord, like I'm listening to you because my humanity would have had me believing, like, oh, this is for real. But God was making sure that I knew that it was not. So after like they called a fast, I talked to God. I was like, Lord, do you want me to fast with this church or no? And God said no. So I was like, okay. So I stayed on whatever what I was doing. Like I share a lot of posts about Jesus, about revelations that I get from the Bible, encouraging people to follow Jesus, encouraging people who do follow Jesus. I make posts and stuff like that, and they had did a social media fast. So it was like right around when the fast was ending that God had told me. He came to me and said, He's gonna be mad because he's gonna be upset because you didn't follow the fast. And I was like, okay. Did not know that the man was gonna show it right up there in the pulpit. Like, did not know that it was gonna happen in the pulpit. So I'm sitting up there, he talking about, so yeah, you're supposed to be on the fast and you on Facebook and stuff like that, like just taking little shots. And I could feel his energy. And it was like that day was when the veil was ripped open. Okay. It was like God was like, all right, now it's time for you to see. So he lifted the veil, and I saw this man for exactly what he was. And it was a Jezebel spirit operating in him, a spirit of control, a spirit of, I need to control. And because he didn't have control, it was like, okay, I don't have control, so I'm about to take shots at you. Take shots. I never told anybody this. But yeah, I told them that God revealed who he was, but I didn't tell them the spirit that was operating behind him. Because God had already educated me on spirits, on like different things before I even came to this point. So I'm watching him just take shots at me. I can feel the energy coming off of him towards me and stuff like that. And then I'm seeing like they start breaking out into like this crazy praising, and it was so strange. It was odd. It was weird. I'm like, I know I'm not the only person in this church that's seeing this. And then later on, when I went home, my brother was like, I hope they being for real, just out of nowhere. And I was like, who? He was like, the church, because I don't know what that was today. And I was like, yo, that's crazy because I felt the same exact way. I was like, what the heck is happening? This is weird. Like, it was weird, y'all. And I was just like, wow. So the next Sunday I speak, and I will post what I spoke on my YouTube, but I basically spoke like the next week I was supposed to speak. 3 days before I was supposed to speak, God changed it up on me. Okay. So I had a dream of me speaking, and when I was speaking on the potter in the God, like the potter, you know, that in the dream. And then when I was trying to turn the pages to read the scripture, it was not going to the scriptures that that about the potter. I don't know if this just